his cheers all around. Again, one more.
3 weeks have passed since the start of the 2020 GNCC season, and we've seen champion Caleb Russell come out on top in both rounds. But the battle is brewing behind him. XC1 contenders like Ricky Russell, Lane Michael, Josh Strang, and Jordan Ashburn have battled it out for the second and third place positions. Factory 1 Sherco athletes Stu and Grant Baylor have started out both races strong, but mid-race issues have plagued them as they battle their new machines. For podium predictions, it's anyone's game. The field is stacked among several different manufacturers and race teams. There's no telling who will round out the box. 3 hours of action-packed bar-to-bar racing is coming up. This is the Specialized General GNCC, live on RacerTV.com.
Are you ready to go GNCC Racing?
Hello and welcome to round 3 of the 2020 GNCC Series presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. Live coverage today on RacerTV.com is brought to you in part by Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. I'm Rodney Tomlin alongside Megawatt Matt Wanston, Johnny Gallagher, and Tyler Shepardson to give you the call. Just a short week ago, we were in the sands of Florida at the Wild Boar GNCC in Palaca near the Rodman Plantation, where Caleb Russell, who lives only moments away, took the win, followed by Josh Strang, who was on the podium for the second time, but actually taking a second place this time and getting past Ricky Russell, who nearly took the second place position, but a late race crash kind of took the wind out of his sails. Strang was able to capitalize on that, move up in the points, and really start to tighten things up. The Strang-Russell battle is a new one this season that's heating up, and as the season goes on, and here today in Georgia, this could get to be pretty exciting, especially with Jordan Ashburn. He's going to be trying to step up to the plate just a little bit, and several other riders along the way. In the XC2 class, the Northerner, Johnny Jawar, took his first ever XC2 class win, followed by an exciting battle between Mike Witkowski and Craig DeLong. This one should heat up as well as the season goes on, and these 3 riders are all going to be gunning for wins today, along with several other folks who also think that they have what it takes to take the win in the XC2 250 class. In the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am division, Zach Hayes has dominated at rounds 1 and 2, and we continue to watch to see if anyone can step up to the plate here at round number 3. Now, we talked about the racing, and there's lots more to come, so let's welcome Junior Trail boss Jared Bolton to give us an overview of this weekend's track, and we'll get to racing.
Thanks, guys. Welcome back to beautiful Georgia. On a personal note, this is one of my all-time favorite courses. There's a little something for everyone out there, and I know what you're thinking. Here he goes again saying that, but that really holds true here at the General. There's really fast sections, and we've also got some super tight single track for the bikes on Sunday. There's a reason so many racers show up for this course, because it's a lot of fun. The biggest thing about this course is the red clay. It gets super slick when it's wet, and when it gets dry, it gets super hard packed and it gets dusty. We could see both this weekend. Who knows what's going to be out there? All I know is it's going to be a great weekend of racing here in Georgia. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Jared. Now let's get a word from our sponsors, and we'll get back with live coverage on the starting line in just a couple minutes.
thankful that we're here today enjoying this sport. There's so many people that probably like to be here, but for different reasons they can't be here. Just let us have a wonderful time together. And Lord, this situation with the virus in the whole world, we know you're going to take care of us. That's because you're in control of everything each and every day, and we're so thankful for that. We just ask that you will take us all home safely when this is over with so we can get back together again one day. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
And welcoming everyone along the World Wide Web at racertv.com here to GNCC Live. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please rise, stand at attention, remove those caps, and cross those hearts as we honor the greatest nation in the world with the playing of our national anthem. Well, there you have it, folks. The stage is set, and GNCC Racing about to get underway here in the beautiful hills of Georgia. And, of course, as we get set to roll into this historic and spectacular day today, we have certainly got another historic event taking place. As many know, Caleb Russell, one of the greatest GNCC racers of all time, at the beginning of this season, announced his retirement, that this would be his final season of competition as a GNCC XC1 Pro. And Caleb, I know with that announcement, this is certainly special to you, and you want to take this opportunity to send a shout out to the race fans each and every race week.
Yeah, it's awesome to do it this way and get to say goodbye and just to be able to enjoy the day as well. So thanks to all the Georgia fans. It's been an awesome time racing at this venue. I really enjoy this place. It's one of my favorite Georgia tracks, and we're looking forward to getting out there today.
Well, we're looking forward to watching Caleb Russell get out there today for his final time here in the sands of Georgia, and the soils of Georgia, I should say. And with that, he's going to have his hands full. And one of those riders he's going to have his hands full with is the number 212 of Ricky Russell, who's standing by with Megawatt Matt Watson.
Thanks a lot, Rodney, here with Ricky Russell right now. Here we are going into round 3. Ricky, we know you've been honing and sharpening on this program, ready for that first win. What's it going to take, man, and what's the plan?
It's just the same plan as every round. Just go out there and give it my all and attack and be up front from the get-go. Florida, I started out back, and by the time I was to second, obviously Caleb's gone, and so I just want to be up there racing with them, and maybe we can make it happen on the last lap. We'll see.
Looks pretty rough out there today. Your kind of conditions, so looking forward for a good finish, and best of luck to you.
For sure. No, it looks good right now. Hopefully this rain holds off, and it should be fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Back to you, Rodney. Now let's meet our starting lineup for this, the third round of the 2020 GNCC Series presented by Specialized. Rolling to the line first for his final time here in Georgia. Riding aboard the number 1, a 7-time GNCC champion on FMF Factory Racing KTM from Boonville, North Carolina, Caleb Russell. Rolling to the line second today, aboard the number 114, fresh from a podium position finish of second just 1 week ago on a Babbitt's Online Team Green Monster Energy Kawasaki, Josh Strang. To the line next, third in points. He hails from Duval, Washington on a Coastal Husqvarna Racing Husky. He's rough, he's rowdy, Ricky Russell. Rolling to the line today, fourth in points, aboard the 127 from Livingston, Tennessee on a Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Team Green Kawasaki, Jordan Ashburn. He's fifth in points. He rides aboard the number 514, hailing from Hodges, South Carolina on a Factory One Sherco, Stu Baylor. Sixth in points, riding aboard the number 410. It's a Phoenix Honda racing machine from Birdsboro, Pennsylvania, Andrew DeLong. Rolling to the line today, seventh in points, aboard the 314 from Belton, South Carolina on a Factory One Sherco, the Grizzly Grant Baylor. Riding aboard the 523, hailing from Boonville, North Carolina, fresh. And last and certainly not least, from Blacksburg, South Carolina, a legend by his own rights, just by his name, on a Rock Hill Power Sports TI Designs UFO Plastics Kawasaki, Evan Earl. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your opening lineup for this, the XC1 Pro Class here at the Specialized General GNCC. As our riders make their way down onto the starting line now and find their start positions here today, we begin to ready ourselves and begin our start sequence here in Georgia. Ricky Towery making his way to that first turn right now. As we always like to say, he is our conductor of ceremonies, and he is set to orchestrate this symphony of starts here in just a few moments. As he makes his way into that first turn region, all eyes are right there, and Ricky Towery signaling these riders. We are just a few minutes away still, folks. A late race, over 400 riders in the morning program, and of course a whole host of competition on that racetrack. We're getting that one cleaned up from this morning, getting scoring reset, and getting these riders ready to go on this racetrack all at the same time for 3 hours of stiff competition here in Georgia. As we said, round number 3 of this 13-round series. And as we got just a couple more moments here on Racer TV, of course, I know a lot of folks have been reading a lot of things, but Tim Cotter here with us. I tell you, Tim, GNCC is alive and strong. And here in Georgia today, man, beautiful weather. I know a lot of folks were talking about the weather and saying, you're not going to be able to race in Georgia. It's going to be too bad. But guess what? The rain stayed away, and we've got perfect conditions here today.
Well, we're a hardy bunch of groups, racers here. Almost 850 riders just today on motorcycles. Had 65 e-mountain bikes yesterday afternoon. GNCC racing families are together, and we're enjoying a great day in Georgia.
No doubt about it. And Tim, speaking of EMTB and mountain bike racing, that's something that maybe the folks at home on Racer TV don't get a whole lot of opportunities to hear a lot about. But one thing that we want to do is remind folks that this is a brand new championship, and we've already seen this championship double in size in last night's opening round.
Yeah, we sure have. The e-mountain bikes came out in full force. We also announced that our Loretta Lynn e-mountain bike cross-country race is going to be part of the FIM North America. It will be the FIM North American Championship, and we have a $10,000 purse for the e-mountain bike race at Loretta Lynn. So our call out is to all of our GNCC riders that want to go ride bicycles, come to Loretta Lynn's.
All righty, sounds like a whole lot of great things to look forward to as far as that's concerned. I'm hearing that we're ready to go. Ricky Towery, waiting on your call. You're saying, no, we're not hearing that we're ready to go. Just still a minute or so away, and we'll get things underway. Like we were saying, folks, that's the one thing that we try to stress as much as possible. Motorsport is obviously a dangerous sport, but we try to make possible, and we give these folks an opportunity to make sure that everyone is off the racetrack before we even think about beginning a new race here today. So that once that is done, the track is clear. We're waiting on scoring to reset. As soon as it is reset, we'll be ready to fire these machines off in just a few moments. As Ricky Towery, as we said, we are waiting on the word from him right now. As soon as he gives these riders the all systems go, we'll fire these machines back up and only be a couple of moments away from going GNCC racing. As Tim Cotter pointed out, over 800 entries in this race day today alone, plus our ATV racing yesterday, which gave us some unprecedented battles yesterday. Saw Walker Fowler taking the win in yesterday's action. Of course, a great heated battle right down to the wire for a second place position. Of course, Chris Borich back on the podium once again, and good to see things going well on that in that department. Of course, Chris Borich's teammates out here today racing on the two-wheel side of things, talking about guys like Andrew DeLong. Andrew DeLong, another rider that we've seen some great strides out of in the opening rounds of this 2020 season. He's not the only one. These guys are all hungry. They're all chomping at the bits. They're all trying to fill in the places that are being left behind by Thad Duvall and Trevor Bollinger right now. And with that, what that does is gives those folks a little more extra incentive, some hunger, and a little more extra desire to try to make things happen out here on the trail in the heart of the GNCC Racing Nation. So Ricky Towery has begun our starting sequence, so to speak, as he finds his way into the first turn. The machines are fired up. The next time we see Ricky come out, he will signal to these riders that we are just 1 week away, or 1 minute away from going GNCC racing. Sometimes it can feel like a week. I'm sure if you're sitting down there on the line, that's for sure. As Ricky makes his way out there. 1 minute, folks, 1 minute before we get things up and rolling here for the final race of 2020 here in the soils of Georgia and the Specialized General GNCC. The last rituals are being conducted right now as all eyes now focused on that first turn region, waiting for the next signal, which will be our dead engine call when that blue flag waves. It will also mean less than 30 seconds away. There it is. Shut them down, guys. Shut them down. Shut them down. Shut them down. It's time to go racing. And I got to ask you, Georgia race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Now, I know we can do a lot better than that. So I'm going to ask you one more time, Georgia. Are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at our Specialized General GNCC. $250 up for grabs again around the first turn. And it is the rough and rowdy Ricky Russell with Lane Michael in second. The 127, Jordan Ashburn, followed then by the 114 of Josh Strang and Caleb Russell opening up in a 5th place position here. Row 2, the XC2 250 Pro, Ryder Lafferty, Simon Johnson, Sam Evans, Tyler Soriano, Heath Harrison, Lyndon Snodgrass, Liam Draper, Jesse Grome, Philip Cheney, Dylan Yearberry, Michael Witkowski, Ben Parsons, Jesse Ansley, Craig DeLong, also Evan Smith, Benjamin Elko, Ryder LeBlanc, Francis Homeway, Thorne Devlin, Tegan Temple, Tanner Myers, Hunter Newer, Johnny Gerard, Jonathan Johnson, and Cody Barnes in 10 seconds. And they're off. around that first turn. Slicing it out, 24, getting the early lead. Big Sam Evans out of St. Albans, West Virginia on an AOMC P3 Composites Fly Racing back machine. On to the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class. We got Logan Kiddock, also Dylan Simple, Dominic Morris, Jason Raines, Michael DeLosa, Benjamin Wright, Tyler Sylvia, Chase Colville, Jeremy Lulliman, Cole Madison, Joseph Ferrero, Nathan Thornhill, also Nathan Federer, Jason Lipscomb, Zach Hayes, and Jake Froman in 10 seconds. And Jason Raines, a jump off the line for Raines on the 100 machine as he rounds the first turn up front. The old captain taking him in the lead in the woods in this Pro-Am class as we go to the 250A class. 250A class, Johnny Monero, Tristan Lander, Josh Lee, Trevor Getz, Tanner Coward, also Michael McGee, Zachary Davidson, Brody Johnson, Matthew Davis, Gavin Simon, Bolton Buroff, Pat Meehan, Brendan Poling, also Zachary Tinky, Aiden Pogson, Andrew Clark, Jonathan McDougall. 10 seconds. Devin Jarrett, also Dakota DeVore, Jeremy Wallstrom, Dalton Riddle, Brock Holloway, Andrew Gross, Jackson Wyas, J.D. Reed, Nick Cordana, Hunter Shelton, Neil Edmond, Cole Robbins, and Brandon Hinton. Rounding that first turn, 199. That is not Travis Pastrana, but that is Zach Davidson out of Iron Station, North Carolina on the Husqvarna USA Dunlop Fly and Chad Davis Racing backed ride. Open A class coming up next. Kobe Beckert, Brady Myers, Tyler Braniff, Alex Luger, Chase Hayes, Philip Dagnese, also Nathan Proctor, Dylan Dela Cruz, Will Simon Piper, Nick O'Brien. 10 seconds. Marshall Fox, Ryder Heacock, also David Greer, Eli Childers, Jonathan Greer, Austin Zink, Ian Flynn, Justin Leonard, Justin Snipes, Mason Atherton, Nate Smith, Dylan Gore, Ryan Quinn, Noah Clark, Jack McMakin, Jacob Barnes, Dakota Duran, Peyton Harden, Craven, Matt Craven, and the 85 grabbing the early lead, Nathan Rector from Rogersville, Missouri on a Marionville Power Sports Moose Racing Maxxis back 8. 150A class coming up next. Max Fernandez, Max Rust, Alex Metz, Ian Potter, Tanner Collins, Braden Nolette, Dylan Hicks, and Blake Yaris all ready to roll next. Getting that first turn region cleaned up. Well, less than 30 seconds to go now as Ricky readies these riders in 10 seconds. The 219 machine of Max Rust from Iron Station, North Carolina on a Palmer Motorsports Fly Racing backed ride. Grabbing the early lead in this one as we go to the four-stroke A lights. Cole Whitmer, Alexander Patterson, Hunter Cleveland, Grady Faint, Tyler Palmer, Adam Hollenkamp, Russell Smith, Travis Raynaud, Ryan Piper, Mitchell Owenby, Hunter Smith, Hayden Dillon, Gatlin Welburn, Josh Vender, Cody Meeks. 10 seconds. Cannon Knuff, also Kevin Poise, Lance Machino, Cole Kirkhoff, Jacob Oliver, Joseph Cunningham, Colby Davis, Nathan Davis, Jace Knopp, Dalton Seals, also Jason Keek, Cotton Dylan Carano, and Ethan Schultz. 464. That's Jace Knopp from Mineral Wells, West Virginia on the Lemon & Barrett's Power Sports Bell Helmets WPS backed ride. Going to the Senior A class, these riders 40 years of age and older. Shotgun Sean Remington, Smiling Frank Messina, also Michael Crane, Joe Potter, Chris Hammond, Bo Hamlet, Shane Leering, Dwayne Connor. 10 seconds. Vinny Tomic, Devin Ferguson, Steve Lambruno, Curtis Ryan, Larry Sylvia, Igor Torres, Joel Stoles, Todd Thompson, Jason Stickley, and Jeff Hoopton. It's the number 53 of Shotgun Sean Remington from New Salem on a Moose Kenda Factory Connection back machine. Junior AB 25 plus class coming up next. 10 seconds. Sam Forrester, Matt Bruffy, Grant Marriott, Valen Garrison, Austin Franklin, Mason Stevens, Tyler Brunton, Dylan Norrell, Zachary Nash, Garrett Maynard, Nick Mellinger, Thomas Caldwell, Taylor Myers, Bailey Parker, Jesse Kildo, Cody Jeffers, and Andrew Boggs. 774, it's a Kawasaki. That's actually the 455 of Thomas Caldwell from Denver, North Carolina, and an Extreme Eco Blasting, Artistry Florals, and Race City Steel Back Machine. Vet A 30 plus class coming up next. Joe Marsh, Louis Oleon, Mikhail Gomez, Joshua Wyatt, Wasley Texiera. 10 seconds. Surly Amancio, Mark Anthony, Nathan Alring, Eric Stevenson, Robert Johnson, Danny Hafty, Matt Modick, Sammy Doris, and Silvano De Ferra. De Faria. Around that first turn, let's see who grabs this early lead. It's looking to be the 360. That's 360. Surly Amancio out of New Milford, Connecticut on a KTM. One of our New England Rippers here with the Senior B40 Plus class. Coming up next, Gene Swibba, Leon Whitaker, Brent Belsel, Rick Liller, and Mike Horwat in 10 seconds. And they're off. I don't know if it's Swidwa or not. I believe it may be. Oh, it was. And it is again. A 109 Gene Swibba from Sarver, Pennsylvania. In that stripe first as we go to the 4-stroke B lights class. Jesse Groves, Bryce Alkire, Corey Mahalik, Austin Hovatter, Austin Sentinel. Also Trevor Golden, Justin Gibb, Miles, and 10 seconds. White Kaiser, also Blaiston Moore, Max Grant, Ben Thomas, and Lake Plowman, Colby Dunham, Drew Calloway, Dawson Case Nixon, Hayden Schultz, TJ Fine, and Cole Henderson. 723 on the machine. Oh, 471 sweeping the outside. Dawson Case Nixon out of Jonesville, North Carolina on a Nixon Farms machine, I believe, is going to get the early lead. We'll see if he can hang on to that as we go to the 250B class now in 10 seconds. Warren Friend, Carter Holzer, Trent Gaither, James Larson, Joshua Connor, Ryan Tucker, Hunter Morris, Jonathan McGee, Ezra Prime, Jonathan Matheny, Wyatt Schumann, Dakota Turner, Dylan Turner, Joshua Gannon, Andrew Inman, Ethan Dingle, Benjamin Bluon, Cameron Madison, and Aaron Waldrop. Ready to go and rolling now, and it's the 586. Benjamin Bluon out of Sherbrooke, Quebec, Canada, grabbing the early lead today as we go to the 150B class. Riders like Anthony Blackburn, Toby Cleveland, Cooper Jones, and Lucas Grounds in 10 seconds. Whoa. Lightning Lucas Grounds out of Martinsville, Indiana. Good jump off the line. Oh, no, he's going to get the needle threaded on him. It's the 366 of Anthony Blackburn from South Park, Pennsylvania, grabbing the early lead in this one now. As we go to the Vet B30 Plus class, they're all ready to roll in 10 seconds. Larry Hopper, Cody Hosta, also Adam Odell, Daniel Parlier, Brandon Dorns, Jeremiah Taylor, RJ Levacy, Matt Beatty, Frank Perry, Eric Ledford, Joseph Bibler, Corey Tolliver, Charles Scott, Jeff Simmons, Jeremy Stowovi, Charlie Becker, Ernest Martin, Stephen Moore, Joshua Webb, and Joseline Ramos. And 412, Corey Tolliver from Beaver, West Virginia. He's going to grab the early lead in this one. Down next to our Open B class. 17 riders ready to roll on this one in 10 seconds. Matt Swords, Tyler Daniels, Andrew Hollenkamp, Trenton Madison, Craig Oberholzer, Jordan Miller, Gregory Tenney, Dylan Fleming, Hunter Barron, Jacob Ellis, Isaac Cole, Colton Hawk, Wesley Lester, Brian Shell, Morgan Annis, Jacob Maynard, and Jamison Hardy. Open B rounding the first turn down. 710. Shear, West Virginia, Brian Shell. with the early lead in this Open B class, and that's going to do it. That's going to wrap up our starts. Nearly 300 riders here this afternoon traversing the trails here in sweet Georgia, my friends. We got Georgia on our mind today, and for a good reason. It's time for this Specialized General GNCC. 3 hours of great racing ahead. Can anyone stop the roll that Caleb Russell is on here in his final year of championship racing? Stick around. GNCC Live continues right after this.
It's a big world out there. How do you choose to see it? When you crave the long canyons, rocky trails, rutted tracks, and lonely highways, they become a part of you. Podiums and personal records, we choose it all. Because life is about moving and feeling. It's about being connected to the adventure. Some just never pull the trigger. They keep waiting, wondering what it means to wander. It's a big world out there. You just need to ride where you belong.
Inside every Yamaha lives the heart and soul of a competitor. The DNA of a champion. When you ride with us, it revs your heart and becomes a part of you too.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. The all-new from the ground up 2019 Yamaha YZ250F is available at LoJack Cycle Sales, alongside the all-new YZ65 and YZ85, and refined YZ450F. So stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride. We are American Motorcyclists. We are members of the American Motorcyclist Association, racers, fans, and crew. We come together for this sport we love, to race together, to grow together. We start young, and not so young. We race motorcycles, and ATVs. We become friends, we become family. We compete for weekend bragging rights and national championships. We make memories on the toughest off-road courses in the country and on the best motocross tracks in the world. Some of us aspire to the speed and poise of road racing or the fierce competitiveness of American flat track, and we honor our greatest champions in the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Through it all, we cheer, we win, and we lose. We are racing. We are the AMA. Race with us. Be part of the greatest sport in the world. Be an American motorcyclist. Join us today at www.amajoin.com/join-now.
All right, welcome back to GNCC Live. Rodney Tomlin here along with Megawatt Matt Watson as we pick the action up fresh off the start. And, of course, what a great day we got going on here. Man, what a start out there. Speaking of starts, Megawatt, a great jump off the line there. Ricky Russell really driving it in hard there, grabbing an early lead. Caleb Russell getting the start back in 5th place position. But we had Caleb there. We had who else did we have there? He was in 5th. We had Jordan Ashburn. We had Josh Strang in there, Ricky Russell, and trying to think of that 2nd place rider or 3rd place rider in there. But regardless, a great start, a great bunch of guys bunched up together, going after it right from the get-go here today.
Yeah, Ricky Russell had just got done telling us that, it's necessary to get a good start. You have to be in it, of course, to win it. Always a key to the race. But, man, he executed that thing perfectly, got a great jump. And I'm really a bit stunned by Caleb Russell's line choice. Lined up clear to the far left, the far outside, and it was definitely the longest distance to the first turn by a lot.
Well, I've seen some ATV guys doing that yesterday. It paid some dividends for those guys. It's a matter of getting the jump off the line and the traction. You've got the best line into the first turn. It is a little bit longer, like you said, but if you can get a little bit more horsepower up through there and get a good jump off the line, it can pay huge dividends. Watching this, and looks like Ricky Russell still out front. We got our Team Green Kawasaki riders back in the number 2 position, and I'm thinking that might be, I'm going to go out on a limb right now and just say Josh Strang, at least for the moment.
I believe it is.
Possibly Jordan Ashburn, but I know the way that Josh has been riding as of late. Can't take anything away from Jordan Ashburn either, as we are joined in the booth now by Tyler Shepherdson. And Tyler, good to see you out here, man. I know that you got a different perspective and a different view on a lot of this racing. What have you seen so far as we've watched this race kick off?
Man, Rodney, I think one of the biggest factors is talking with Grant Baylor and kind of looking out at some of the track myself as we're sitting here looking on screen, them coming through the woods. This Georgia track is notorious for breaking down throughout the course of this 3-hour race. There's going to be roots everywhere. There's going to be ruts everywhere. And more importantly, there's going to be more lines at this racetrack developing and opening up throughout the race than what we typically see. So I think this battle is going to come down to who can take the smarter lines as we sit there and watch, I believe that's Ricky on screen there, just kind of square up both of those turns and go right through the middle of it. Those are the lines that these guys got to look for to put themselves out in front.
Well, it looks like Ricky Russell certainly has things dialed in here on this first lap, and I know he's looking for a little redemption after last week in Florida. Man, he had a great race going, and just kind of the wheels fell off. Talked to him after the race. He said after that little washout, his heart rate spiked, and so late in the race, he started pushing, and he just kind of fell off. He lost a lot of energy there in the last couple of miles and made a few mistakes, but thankfully was able to hang on to a top spot anyway.
At that point in the race, Rodney, almost impossible to hit the reset button on that heart rate.
Yeah.
A little earlier in the race, knowing you have a little more time, the anxiety spikes, the heart rate spikes, and guess what? Time's almost over at that point.
Well, he said what really got him was whenever he got past. He knew when he got past, that's whenever things really started tensing up for him, and he said he just started overthinking stuff. His arms got really, really tight,
and the bike just started doing its own thing. So he was able to salvage, I think it was, third place, I think, when it was all said and done. An amazing feat for him as we're watching these riders on the Yamaha Racing Skycam. And we got that Team Green Kawasaki back there still going on. I think that's still Strang. I'm trying to watch his riding style. This is when we need Johnny Gallagher in here to give us the bird's eye view on that one. And who's that back here in that number 3 spot? I would say, is that Lane Michael? Lane Michael got that second place start, I think, today. That's the red that I was forgetting about on the N-Pro Yamaha. And that might be Michael back in that number 3 spot.
As a matter of fact, it could be. We were talking earlier, but we totally overlooked Lane, and I believe that was 523 is his number. I believe that was him in the first turn. So
yeah, and Rodney, this Team Green guy right here, I just double checked on my phone here to check the riding gear. That's actually Jordan Ashburn there in second place.
That's how Johnny identifies everybody.
Yeah, I didn't see what gear, didn't pay attention to what gear the guys were wearing today. So Ashburn. Now Ashburn got off to a good start too in this one. I mean, so both the Team Green guys were up front. You had Lane Michael, you had Caleb Russell, and that's one thing we haven't mentioned yet. Where is Caleb Russell at this particular point? I haven't seen him on screen just yet, and that's kind of shocking and surprising. But if you notice, if you were down on the start, Caleb was a late arrival. He actually was at the starting line. He left, and he came back during the national anthem. I think I was told he had to go back for roll-offs, but I don't know if that kind of broke up the start rituals that he had and maybe got him out of focus, or what may have happened there on that start.
To be quite honest with you, I think like you, he watched some of those starts from the quads yesterday, and if you're going to add distance to the start, your timing better be perfect if you're going to put more distance between you and the first turn. And he just didn't quite get the jump. He spun just a little bit, had a good idea. He had a lot of guys pinched off, but unfortunately come around that second turn about 5th or 6th.
Yeah, and Rodney, going off of what you were talking about, I was actually down there, so I'm parked right where the triple is on the motocross track, which is also where they come across the road.
Ooh,
as we got a pass for the lead on screen, Jordan Ashburn moves into the lead. But
wow, it almost looks like he opened the door and let him go on through, but I don't think that's the case. Watch Ashburn go, man. He's running like a scared rabbit now, trying to put some distance between he and the 212 of Ricky Russell now.
Like Tyler mentioned, there are going to be so many lines at this particular track. I think he caught Ricky a little by surprise there.
Yeah,
Ricky went out, and his line gave away. His line blew away.
And it was
Jordan,
a little wider, too.
Jordan identified that and just cut it inside. His bike gripped and made a great move.
Yeah, if looking back, there was a split line there. One went to the left side of the tree, one went to the right. And, I would have thought it looked like the right line was a little bit shorter, but we'll take a look at that with our replay coming up here in just a couple moments to see just exactly how that unfolded. Look at this. We got more company coming back there for that third place position rider, it looks like.
And Strang there in third?
Again, fellas, what an opportunity to have this drone coverage right here. What an opportunity to be able to watch this race from overhead and cover this much distance. Just an incredible job by our drone pilot.
And I tell you, we are definitely blessed as we go to our specialized replay. Here's what happened in this pass section. You see, Ricky Russell's got the lead out here in this one. As we come into this wood section, it looks like, and that should be coming up. That little split line should be coming up here pretty soon. I don't think that was
Jordan really closing the distance, so he's outbreaking him right here.
Oh, okay, we've already done this, but I didn't see the replay. I'm sorry. I was going to say, that looks like Russell's still back in the spot back there. Here we go. There's the specialized replay. Rapid replay coming out. There you see. Still, no, that's not the case. Got some nice graphics, though. Way to go.
That Yamaha Skycam is really great to follow along with the action, but just like we're looking at here, got a little backwards in there. But going back to what we were talking about earlier, we're still waiting to see Caleb Russell on screen. Before the race, he was down there with KTM team manager Auntie and his mechanic, so I'm not sure what they were.
Look at this, a two-way race now starting to shape up to a four-way race.
A five-way race, Rodney.
Look at this. Jordan Ashburn still out front, but now second, third, and fourth, fifth, and sixth, all right there within striking and closing distance. Now here it comes. This is the replay coming up out here. Here it is. Now you watch. Yeah, he goes out wide. There you go, man. He just went a little wide, got a little loose, just like you said in that quad, and it looked like Ashburn was able to capitalize out there. Now we are back at it out front here. Jordan Ashburn having the lead. Looked like he was ready to take off, but, man, Ricky Russell reeling him back in. Meanwhile, that third and fourth place position, fifth and sixth, all right there within striking distance as well as we roll through this lap. We're now about 26 minutes into this race, so we should be nearing the completion of this lap. But, man, I tell you, just like you pointed out a few moments ago, the Yamaha Skycam, I mean, we've been watching this race battling for, 5 minutes or better now, and it's all been one static shot pretty much the entire time, and it's all been battling.
And, you know, when you're looking at the leaders, originally it was 2, then 3 riders, now 4 in a moment here. When we get outside that margin, there'll be 5 or 6 riders in this shot, Rodney. Just absolutely insane right now that we're able to look through. Now,
wow,
5 riders right there.
Look at that line on the outside that third-place rider is using right now. I mean, he made up some time. It looked like there at one point just railing that outside. It looked like a long way around, but, wow, the momentum he carried coming through that section, very important to keeping him in position to try and make that pass out there. And like we all know, you can't follow the other rider and expect to make a pass. You've got to go out there and you've got to search for those other lines, and now's the perfect time to do that. And there's the pass. We got a new second-place ride, it looks like, or third-place ride.
I see white fenders on that bike. I believe that is one of the Baylor brothers.
It's got to be Grant. Grant's the one that got started in the top 5 position out there, right there in the thick of things. I think it's Grant that we might be seeing. And I'll be honest with you, after talking with Grant after last week and talking with him pre-race today, this guy, I've never seen Grant so calm, cool, and collected. I mean, so confident in what's going on, even knowing that he's basically running that stock Sherco out there with a few added extras. They're running a stock tank out there, which the only difference in the capacity is the fact that they can't fill it up as fast. So his lap times are going to have to be a little bit faster than everybody else if he wants to stay ahead of the game. Look at this.
Here comes the pass.
Russell on the moto track. Russell and Ashburn getting together as they come into the finish line region now. It is still Ashburn with a slight advantage over that.
That's Stu Baylor.
That's Stu Baylor in the second place position, the 5:14. That's why we've seen a little bit of aggression. I was going to say you don't see that out of Ricky Russell, but there's Caleb Russell checking in. He's the top 4 rider now, so it's Ashburn, Stu Baylor, Ricky Russell, Caleb Russell, Lane Michael, and Josh Strang. So I was wrong. The 3:14 not even in there. Grant, even with the confidence and the great start that he had, is still big brother Stu that's out there making waves. And, man, what an amazing feat. And I'll go ahead and expand on what we were talking about. Remember last week, we had issues with the fuel tank. The top of the fuel tank breaking off because they plastic welded on. They were trying to get that quick fill system put on that tank. Well, what they decided to do this week, they forego that. They've got a tank. It's the same capacity size their stock tank is what they were filling up. But they're going back to the old school. You know how you see the mini riders and stuff using those quick fill gas jugs?
Yep.
Kind of similar to the quick fill units. Well, that's what they've got going on there. So it's going to take them a little bit long. He says he anticipates at least 10 seconds longer pit stop than anyone else. And he said, we're just going to have to ride faster to make up that difference.
You know, that might be easier said than done.
I don't know. When it comes from a Baylor boy, I think they mean it.
I got to tell you, you saw him and Ashburn go shoulder to shoulder there a minute ago. I think I'd pick somebody other than Stu Baylor to go shoulder to shoulder with.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. And eye-opening a moment there for both riders. Getting a feel for what's going on there. Stu is certainly trying to get in Jordan's head. There's no doubt about that. Making the pass on him, or getting the pass made on him, and then trying to make the pass back on him. So here's the way things are breaking down. We just saw Lane Michael and Josh Strang and the boys going around. It's Ashburn, Baylor, Russell. Lane Michael rounds out the top 5. Josh Strang in 6th. It is Craig DeLong in 7th. Aboard the 342, that's your XC2250 Pro Class leader. He's 7th overall. Mike Witkowski's 1.6 seconds back. He's 8th overall, 2nd in class. And Tegan Temple, 9th overall, 3rd in class. As we pick the action back up just a few moments ago with that little battle there coming between Stu Baylor and Jordan Ashburn. Here it is, folks, on our specialized replay. You see Stu just trying to lean in there, and Jordan just went out wide and said, you ain't leaning on me, buddy. And he went toe-to-toe with him right there.
He absolutely did. Took control of the line. He knew he was coming, but he also had possession. So Ashburn had
Stu
position.
kind of leaned in, and boy, I tell you, Jordan
braced himself for impact.
He did. He knew
that's
Jordan
all,
was
that's
coming
clean
in.
racing. That's shoulder to shoulder. That's what we want to see in GNCC right there. Great effort by both of those guys. And guess what? Both still on 2 wheels and both still racing each other.
Most definitely. As we roll through this, we are now 29 minutes, 30 minutes now into this race, 30 minutes and 45 seconds on the race clock.
See, there was a day in GNCC racing where you could kind of pace yourself throughout these 3 hours, but the level that this has been put to between these top XC1 competitors.
I'm going to tell you right now, we haven't had a pacing race in GNCC since 2005 when U-Haul-Salmon came over.
That's right.
That's when the game changed, brother. That is exact. Now, you've seen it. I know you talk about pacing. You should have been here pre-U-Haul-Salmon. That's whenever the slow paces were going. He
let
picked
each other by.
Yeah, it was a crazy scenario back then, and it is certainly changed. And I know what you're talking about, but it's crazy how much this sport has progressed. Just like you're saying, the intensity of this first lap, Tyler Shepard, it is off the scale. It's probably as intense as the last lap in that third hour.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see the aggression and the battles and going into the first lap or just coming through scoring for the first. I mean, they're already laying it all out there because they all want to get that number one spot. Cool to see Jordan Ashburn on that Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki. We've seen him putting together some really good rides this season, and so it's cool to watch him get out front and really come into his own. And as he shows it off here, as he's leading early on here at round number 3.
There's Ashburn.
Nobody likes to see the same guy or the same bike win every week. You know, sometimes that's the case, whether it's Moto or GNCC. And anytime you get a fresh breath of life in there or get a new look up front, man, it's always enjoyable and entertaining. And right now, these two guys, man, they're showing us something we haven't seen yet this season.
Factory One Sherco rider Stu Baylor in second, still trying to chase down the Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Team Green Kawasaki ride of Jordan Ashburn. I know Ashburn, some incentive. He had some great rides there last year, had a great ride at the opening round at Big Buck GNCC. I'm sure not as great as what he had hoped, but in the end, really showing some great speeds and some great advancements forward. And after last week in Florida, and he saw his teammate getting all the accolades in that second place position, you know he's got to be fired up this week. He wants the accolades on the team right now, I'm sure.
It's funny you say that. I'll give you
Andrew DeLong, by the way.
A little prediction by our buddy Roy. Our boss Roy said, let me tell you something. He said, when Baylor gets that Sherco figured out, when he gets it 100% dialed, he's going to be a force to reckon with. And that came straight from Roy, who was at Palatka. And let me tell you, Roy's been there, done that, and he knows how to pick a winner and pick a situation.
You know, I have to say, you know, and the beauty of it is, I mean, Stu Baylor possibly has had this much talent and this much ability in seasons past, but he's never had this much incentive. He wants to prove this machine. He wants to prove himself and this machine at the same time, and I think he's opened up. I mean, just through 2 rounds of racing, even with the issues that they've suffered, they have opened up so many eyes out there.
Speaking of proving themselves, Craig DeLong stepping up on that Rockstar Energy Husqvarna. We're looking at him on screen now. Those XC2 riders, this is all of them, wheel to wheel. Craig DeLong out front, Michael Witkowski on that Ampro Yamaha behind with the Trail Gestures KTM of Johnny Gerard. You can throw a net over all 3 of these top XC2 riders as they've been swapping podium spots throughout the year as well.
Wow, and I think we've seen Tegan Temple in there as well. The 525 machine, he was running third at the end of lap number 1 behind Witkowski. He was, 4 seconds back. So Johnny Gerard moving his way up into the pack and getting into the thick of things here on lap number 2 as well. So all the key players are in place right now. It's just a matter to see how this one's all going to pan out today. And there's a lot of scenarios that can unfold here. I mean, as we look at this one early, not even an hour into this race, 35 minutes or so, Ashburn and Baylor and Ricky Russell. Caleb Russell is the unknown factor back there, to be honest with you. I mean, not so much unknown. He is the known factor. We know what he is going to do. We know right now that maybe he's laying back just a little bit, kind of sorting things out. Even if Caleb Russell hangs where he's at right now, 3rd, 4th, 5th place position, look for hour 3 to be a whole different story, because that's where really I think everything that Caleb Russell works for, that's where everything starts to shine. When everyone else starts to fade, that's just when he starts to pick it up.
The comparison to be Eli Tomac in Moto. Everybody gets out there, Kenny Roczen, Cooper Webb, these guys charge. One thing you can count on at the end of the Moto, number 3 is going to come through, and I guarantee you Caleb Russell will be as strong on the last lap as he was on the first.
And I think part of the reason what makes Caleb so great, and we're sitting here looking at our leaders coming through the backside. So this was the other shot we were looking at. This is them coming through the backside going into the 7-mile marker here. But Caleb is really good at riding exactly how he needs to. So right now he's sitting back, checking these lines, seeing what everyone's doing. But it looks like Lane is up there now.
Yeah.
He was
So
riding
Caleb's dropped
spot.
to what, 6th place now?
Yeah, so Lane and did Strang go by too?
Actually, Caleb's in 4th and Lane's in.
Oh, okay.
5th.
I know.
Lane just came through before Caleb
Yeah,
in that shot.
yeah.
So he
Lane-
passed him. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
So, and that's a good news for Lane. Lane, you know,
Absolutely.
I mean, we've seen some good things out of him as well. There's Andrew DeLong on the 410 Phoenix Racing Honda, but the thing about it is, I mean, we've seen good things out of Lane, but wow, the confidence that he is starting to really pick up on from that. I know it's like he said, I've just got to be able to finish the race. If I can finish the race as strong as I'm starting these things, he says, we're going to be right where we need to be. And it's just a matter, it's a formula. It's a work in progress right now. And I think that's what Randy Hawkins is looking at. He's thinking, you know, we've got one of the most talented riders on the racetrack right now. All we got to do is harness his abilities and his talents and get him all in the right direction. And we could probably start winning some championship on these blue machines.
Yeah, only problem that Lane has really had over the years, a few injuries, and it's just consistency. The guy can win at any given time, but it's just putting it all in line and getting it to stay in line.
But knowing the speed, if you get Lane consistent, it's going to be all over.
You better believe it, absolutely. And, you know, exact same story as a mini bike. And a lot of guys are mini bike prodigies. A lot of guys are mini bike heroes. And Lane won several mini bike titles, come out. Didn't have that immediate success, but man, oh man, that's a guy that you never bet against.
I just saw Tegan Temple going through there, Tyler. I guess that's our XC2 guys going through right now. Did you see still the battle up front between DeLong and Witkowski, I believe, coming through?
I was keeping an eye out. I didn't see him come through. We see Liam Draper right there on that Tealer Energy KTM as he goes by. I was trying to keep an eye out, but as far as our leaders.
It was actually, the leader was still Craig DeLong leading. Mike Witkowski actually tried to make a pass on the inside, almost dropped his bike and held himself and Johnny Gerard up just for a second there. But it is still those guys 1, 2, 3. Craig DeLong, Mike Witkowski, Johnny Gerard 1, 2, 3. Tegan Temple about 8 to 10 seconds back there in third.
And let's see how far back. I know Temple was right on the rear wheels of Johnny Gerard there for a bit, so it looks like he's dropped back just a little bit also.
Yep, about 8 to 10 seconds. He is off the back of Gerard right now. But, you know, it's shaping up to be a battle between those guys, and we've kind of been waiting to see what Craig DeLong can do this year. He's kind of had to claw from the back, it seemed like, the first 2 races. Not that far back, but just far enough back that he lost touch with Witkowski and Gerard early, and he just wasn't able to really do anything with it after that point. So today, being up there early, Evan Smith there on screen, the 347 Husky rider. That looks to be Cody Barnes that just came by there, and here is that is Lyndon Snodgrass, a rider we've been expecting big things out of. You know, this guy here himself is a current world title holder in the as a part of that ISDE junior team for Australia, the junior world champions, and he actually was a part of the winning trophy team the year before, and it was when some riders came back, he dropped back to the junior team. But this guy's got some serious speed. We've yet to see him put it together for a complete GNCC for 3 hours. He had a big crash in Florida. Expected things out of him, big things out of him there in the sand. And then we also just saw the 328 machine of Jesse Ansley go by, and that is Simon Johnson working his way by. So these are all the XC2 guys now are coming through, and they're all these guys here battling, trying to claw their way up into a top 10 position.
Well, we just saw a shot a few moments ago of the Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Team Green Kawasaki's. We saw Joey and, of course, Fred Andrews, their team captain down there. Looks like they're busy contemplating what the strategy is going to be the rest of this race. And, you know, when you get these riders up here up front, you know, there's a lot to discuss and I'm sure a lot to think about as well. And as they get that all sorted out, we're going to continue to watch this race as Jordan Ashburn continues to lead Stu Baylor with Ricky Russell in third, Caleb Russell, or actually Lane Michael up to fourth, Caleb Russell in fifth, Josh Strang sixth place position. And look at this, Craig DeLong, he's leading that XC2 250 Pro class. He is seventh place overall, looking to strike into a top 5 position. The big question, will he be able to pull that off here today? Only one way to find out. Stick around. GNCC Live continues after that.
born of family values and a homegrown work ethic. Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Rodney Tomlin along with Megawatt Matt Watson, Johnny Gallagher, and of course from On the Pipe, it is Tyler Shepherdson here with us. We're looking at this racetrack at the 7-mile marker right now. A little bit of a break before we'll see our leaders coming through here in just a few moments. But at last check, again, if you're just joining us, Jordan Ashburn, Stu Baylor, Ricky Russell, Caleb Russell, Lane Michael. Actually, Lane Michael had gotten around Caleb Russell there at last check. We'll see next time we see him whether or not he's able to hang on to that. While we're waiting on our leaders, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these other classes as we're talking a little bit about the XC1 Pro class. Craig DeLong, Mike Witkowski, Johnny Giroir, Tegan Temple in 4th, Cody Barnes rounding out the top 5. Then it's Liam Draper in 6th, Tom Devlin in 7th, Evan Smith is 8th, Benjamin Nelko in 9th, and Lyndon Snodgrass rounding out the top 10. Last year's XC3 champion running in 11th there in the XC2 Pro class. Jason Raines leading the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class. He got a great jump off the line, but he's only got a 1.2 second lead over the 707 of Jason Lipscomb out of Parkersburg, West Virginia. Chase Colville got himself a win or two in this class last year, aboard the 318 from West Sunbury, PA, running in 3rd on that new beta ride. Got himself a brand new ride here in 2020, so way to go, Chase. Dominic Morris, the 156 from Newark Valley, New York, in 4th. And the 722 Zach Hayes from Sumter, South Carolina, rounds out the top 5 there in the FMF XC3 125 class. We've also got Cole Madison in 6th, Mike DeLosa 7th, Nathan Federer is 8th, Jake Froman in 9th, and Benjamin Wright rounding out the top 10. And good to see a healthy class of FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am riders. Class has really grown a lot this year, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely, Rodney. I was just thinking that as you were doing that rundown, I mean, you got some guys that have been top AMs, top youth riders, you know, that are outside the top 5 right now. So that shows you that class is really gaining some depth. You know, it's been a solid class. You know, you always had a couple of good guys in there, and then some other guys just kind of filling it out, which was good. But it's definitely grown this year. You know, it seemed like in the past when we do the rundown for the FMF XC3 class, it would be about 4 guys, and now we've got 9 riders and, you know, quite a few heavy hitters in there. It sounds like the leaders are coming here at the 7-mile marker. One thing to throw in there quick, Rodney, before we here they come.
And it looks like
Stu Baylor.
Stu Baylor still out front on the 514 Factory One Sherco team ride out there. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch the 10 seconds cast that I did with him. He was the first episode 1 that we did on a new podcast show. And man, I mean, he comes into this season very confident. If you wonder what that program's like, he tells it like it is. There's no hiding it any whatsoever. So be sure and check that out. And he is doing a lot with a little. Not really. I mean, he's got a good program, a good product that he's working with, obviously, or it wouldn't be where it is right now. He's just trying to fine-tune it. Looks like they've got that fine-tuned. Second.
So here's sorry. This is the battle that's on screen, Rodney. We have had a little bit of shake-up. Caleb Russell back around Lane Michael and back into that 4th place spot. So those two have been, you know, they might train together, but right now they're going at it.
Yes, they are, and that's the way it will be throughout this entire day, I think. And it's good news for Lane Michael. He couldn't be in a better place than to have somebody like Caleb Russell to battle with at this point in the race. See if he can keep those mistakes minimized, and maybe he can latch on with Caleb at some point. They may be able to move up through the pack together.
Yeah. Here we have our 6th and 7th place riders. That is Andrew DeLong on that Phoenix Racing Honda.
There's Grant Baylor.
Grant Baylor on that Factory One Sherco. So there are your top 7 through that camera shot there at the 7-mile marker. And, you know, the one thing I did notice there, it seemed like Stu had stretched out just a little bit over Jordan Ashburn. And here we see on screen the 514, Stu Baylor. And, man, he looks really aggressive right now.
How can you ride at this intensity for 3 hours, man? I mean, this looks like something you want to be pushing for in the last hour, last half hour. I mean, if he goes like this the entire time, I'm going to be blown away.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've seen flashes of brilliance out of Stu, and not that he hasn't had some solid seasons in the last couple of years, but, you know, the brilliance that we saw at Big Buck in 2017, I mean, that's something similar to, like, what we're looking at right now. So here we see there is, it looks like now in the 3rd place ride that is still Ricky Russell, but has Jordan Ashburn dropped back to 4th, or is that Josh Strang there?
I think we saw Jordan go through first. I think right there we were looking at the battle over 5th with Strang and them going through is what it
Oh,
looked
look at
like.
that. Those lines come, and that I believe that's Caleb Russell that's on the tail end of that. Yes, you're right. So that is 3, 4, and 5 there. Caleb Russell on the far outside.
Wow!
They
Did you see that line?
Yeah.
That was impressive. Sorry, I was spectating again.
That's what's so crazy about this shot is, it really shows you how these lines do come together. And sometimes you'll see a guy, see there how he shoots off to the left. But look where this line comes in. Oh, is he going to make the pass? He's got him up the inside, but he just can't quite get there. But they're virtually side by side. And that is actually Caleb Russell.
Yeah.
So Caleb Russell going up the right side there, and he does make the pass stick. So that pass actually was good. Oh, now they cross back over. Now they cross back over again. They're like little ants following a trail of food here. Caleb Russell goes from 5th to 3rd in that one section right there. Gets around Ricky Russell.
How great is this Yamaha Skycam? These are the battles that are happening in the woods
that we
throughout this
never
entire
get to see,
race.
yeah.
And we're getting a bird's eye view, literally, of it as it's unfolding right in front of us here.
So as we're watching this, is that Josh Strang in the 5th place spot then? Because we did have Lane Michael. I don't believe that Lane Michael's in dark gear. That is not Lane Michael's there now. So that's 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That was right. They got around. That's Jordan Ashburn there that we see the 3rd rider on screen. So Caleb Russell is now up to 2nd.
Now, didn't Jordan had black gear on, dark
Jordan
gear?
has a dark jersey
Well, then who's
on.
in the white on the Kawasaki?
That's got to be Josh Strang.
Has
yeah.
gotten up into that battle as well. It's definitely a Babbitt's Racing Monster Energy Kawasaki. So if Ashburn's in dark gear, then that is Josh Strang there that we're seeing on the tail end of that. So now in 3rd place, it's Caleb Russell. 4th place, Ricky Russell. And 5th place, that appears to be Josh Strang on the rear wheels. And look at Caleb starting to stretch it out over Ricky Russell.
Yep, that's Strang in the
okay, so Strang in the
blue
new
and
light, yeah, it's the gray and white, the new kinetic mesh from Fly that he's wearing there. So okay, so that is Strang. Strang now up to 5th. Caleb Russell into 3rd, or no, so Strang 4th. 5th is they just keep passing each other. Ricky Russell,
a lot of numbers going on.
And then we got Lane Michael now starting to fall off the back. You see him just there coming out of the corner. So he's starting to fall off the back of this train just a little bit. But these guys are pushing hard. And if they keep pushing this pace, that look at up the inside. The way these lines come together is just absolutely crazy to see from this angle.
Definitely got to search them out, and there are lots of lines, especially for these motorcycles.
Oh, Josh Strang up the inside. He can't make it stick, though. Or he's going to square him up again. Is he going to get him this time? Nope. Still Ricky Russell able to protect that inside. Tell you what, Josh Strang looks racy.
Yeah. I don't know. I was talking to Josh. He looked at me like I was kind of crazy, but, I mean, it seems like there's almost a new life breathed in his program. I know he had
Stu Baylor into the pits.
This is the first shot of us seeing him without that dry brake, but it looks like they're making it work. That was quick in. Let's see how quick out he can get and get that cap back on.
Look, they're screwing it on.
That was an impressive stuff.
Yeah,
that was not too bad.
That wasn't bad at all. No.
For sure.
No, I don't think there was 10 seconds lost there overall on that. So Stu really, they must have been practicing that pit stop, and rightfully so.
Now, did Ashburn pit or did he go by Baylor? I didn't see him in that shot.
I don't know, but that's still the battle for 3rd right there, I think. With,
Caleb Russell in 3rd. And there is a rider up ahead of them. Maybe that's Jordan Ashburn there. So what you're watching on screen, folks, is Ricky Russell, and they're in between, sandwiched between Caleb Russell and Josh Strang. That's Caleb Russell up there in front in the 3rd place spot. Ricky Russell in 4th. Josh Strang in 5th, but Strang runs it up the inside, and I think he's going to make it stick this time.
That's it.
I think he's got the pass made. There we go. He made the pass.
Wow, very well executed pass there by Josh Strang as he moves into the number 4 spot here on the moto track. Look at that styling by Caleb Russell as he pancakes that bike out over that tabletop.
I tell you what, I understand this is just a couple of corners, but Josh Strang is closing up on Caleb Russell right in front of our very eyes. Josh Strang appears to be on a mission today. Last we knew he was in the 6th place spot. He is now up to 4th. He's made his way around Lane Michael. He's made his way around Ricky Russell, and now he is closing up on Caleb Russell for that 3rd place spot.
Expanding on what I was talking about with Josh Strang when I was talking to him earlier today, like I said, I said, Josh, it seems like there's been a new life breathed into your program. He kind of looked at me funny, like, what do you mean? I felt good at the end of the year, but I was like, but you weren't looking as good as what you're looking right now. You didn't look nearly as aggressive and nearly as hungry, but he didn't look as comfortable either. And, we talked, and he was talking about that time that he got to spend at home in Australia during the winter break. And he said, I went home for a few weeks. He said, there was a month I didn't even touch my motorcycle. I didn't have a motorcycle, didn't do any training. I just went home and visited with the family, visited with old friends. He said, so maybe that did recharge my batteries. He said, when I got back, he said, I was ready to ride my motorcycle again.
And sometimes there's a lot to that. It's like when you reset your computer. What's the first thing you do when your phone starts acting up your computer? You reset it. These guys they're not machines. They're human beings, but they train like machines. They ride like machines. They eat like machines. Everything's programmed. Everything's structured. Sometimes maybe he just needed to go home, put some shrimp on the Barbie, drink a couple Fosters, and enjoy, home for him and what's comfortable. And realize, and I'll tell you what, not only is Josh Strang riding better than we've seen him ride. And Megawatt standing here said, sometimes they take that as an insult when you say I've seen a renewed fire, a rejuvenation. They took it, well, I felt like I was good before. It's a compliment because what we're saying is, yeah, you were good before. You were one of the top guys out there. But right now there's just this little, not to sound cheesy, but there's this sparkle in his eye. Mm-hmm. There's this glimmer of like, hey, man, and, like he said, after he was on the podium in South Carolina, we wanted to talk about the podium, and he really just wanted to talk about the fact he was having fun riding his dirt bike. And how many times have we seen when a rider truly starts enjoying themselves,
that's when it's
truly starts embracing it? He also made the comment, Rodney, he said, it hit me when I was home in Australia. He said, I've been doing this for 14 years. He said, this has been the greatest opportunity of my life, and I don't want to miss a bit of it. So here's a guy that appreciates his situation. Yep. Like we talked about last show, Rodney, with Caleb Russell, same thing. End of his career, he's announced his retirement. This is his last year of full-time competition, and we've seen a completely different attitude out of him, in a good way.
Yes.
Man, these guys are still battling. We see on screen the battle for third, and these guys, down under those pine trees, there's rubber rubbing and, metal bending, and these guys are doing all they can do to just get going because they know ahead of them is Jordan Ashburn, and Stu Baylor is on a mission trying to stretch out that gap. One thing I was going to say when I was coming through the pits earlier on my way to the studio here, I ran into Throttle, which is Caleb Russell's mechanic, and I didn't have any idea what was going on. I hadn't seen the screen yet. I didn't know Caleb was back in at the time 5th place. He just looked at me, took a big breath, and said, he's going to have to work for this one. So I think he knew right there, the way Stu Baylor's riding, the way a lot of these guys are riding, this is not likely to be a Caleb Russell runaway like we saw in Florida just a week ago. Yeah, and there we go. Our producer Adam Gordon just let us know that fender you see right in front of Caleb Russell, that is Jordan Ashburn. So now it looks like Caleb Russell and also Josh Strang have inched their way up to the rear wheel of the second-place rider, Jordan Ashburn. So the rider you see in the middle of your screen right now, that is Caleb Russell on the number 1 FMF factory KTM machine. Just ahead of him, you'll see the glimpse of a rear green fender. That is Jordan Ashburn, and a few seconds ahead of him is the 514 Factory 1 Sherco of Stu Baylor. Stu Baylor leading this one early, and man, what a comeback story after a week ago, Rodney.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they had their struggles last week for sure, but again, I think every struggle they have is just more incentive for them to come out the next time and go above and beyond.
And last weekend, it was kind of one of those issues, I don't want to call it growing pains, but it's something that they're all working forward as they're developing these Shercos and getting them back at the top level of competition here at GNCC. But one thing that Stu was very adamant about last weekend is that he declared himself the fastest man on the track. He said that he was reeling in Caleb Russell, and I think he came out here today with that mentality, and he's doing exactly what he said he was doing, and he's proven that he can be the fastest guy on the track.
Well, Stu is one of those guys. I mean, he's hungry, he's able, and yes, you're right. He is capable and does, I think, take a lot of merit in that, the fact that, hey, I was the fastest. There's no reason why I shouldn't be up front. The beauty of it is, with the issues that they have had, the small issues that they've had that's kept Stu out of podium contention and maybe even winning contention the last couple of rounds, is the fact that they take it all in stride. If there's a malfunction or a problem, I mean, yeah, there's a little upset, oh man, doggone it, but let's get this fixed. And they go right straight to the drawing board. So I mean, this is a good process for Stu, and who's to say that they aren't right close to where they need to be already? It seems like they are with the performances we've seen. And if Stu can come out here and win in only his 3rd outing on the Factory 1 Sherco, wow, what kind of news is that going to be across the motorcycle racing world?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I come from a wrestling and combat sports background for my entire life. And one saying that was pretty prevalent with us is you either win or you learn. And I think Sherco is definitely taking that sentiment as each race they're improving, and they're changing something on the bike, and they're coming back the next weekend even stronger. And that's what they're showing right now as Stu Baylor's out in front with the early lead.
Well, wrapping up lap number 2 here in just mere moments, I believe. That should be Baylor coming in. I believe he's already checked in.
That's him going through right here on
Stu
screen.
Baylor is in. 29:15 lap time for the 5:14 machine out of Hodges, South Carolina, checking in 7.1 seconds back with a 29:24 is Jordan Ashburn. Now we wait for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th place checking in. Caleb Russell, 2 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn. Josh Strang, 2 seconds behind Caleb Russell. Ricky Russell, 1.5 seconds behind Josh Strang. Lane Michael, less than a second behind Ricky Russell. So Lane isn't giving it up just yet. He may be just outside the top 5, but he's working and he's fighting for a top 5 position right now. And to think that you have to fight this hard. I mean, it's like trying to fight for a podium position just to be in the top 5 right now.
Yeah, and what a bottle grab there that we just saw by Jordan Ashburn. Came through, never let off the throttle around that left-hander, grabs the bottle and keeps moving. But just like you said, I mean, the pace that these guys are pushing from the green flag, it's absolutely unreal as we're watching these battles. And this is actually really neat with this Yamaha Skycam. I don't think we've ever seen so much of a lap before. And I don't think anybody's taking the same line twice through all these sections.
No, they're you know, that's one thing that, you know, the ATV guys talked about, the fact that this was a wide open track, lots of opportunities for passes and lines to, you know, search for time and things like that in there. And same thing for the bikes, but it's only more prevalent for the bikes because they're not nearly as wide as the ATVs and a little more nimble through the woods. So this track is really wide open for these guys, which has obviously created this amazing battling that we're seeing. Now, one thing to point out, just because we're seeing that on screen, it's wide up. Not everything is wide open here. We do have some single track stuff, some tight stuff that is not nearly as easy to traverse for these riders, but what these guys have got out here right now certainly is a nice raceable race course.
Yeah, absolutely. And Georgia's notorious. I've raced this race several times, and there are several very tight single track sections throughout this race that these riders are dealing with. And you can see we're heading into lap 3, but they're already dealing with the lappers at this point. So those lappers become even more prevalent when you're going into those tight sections and they really have nowhere else to go.
Well, it looks like Tegan Temple checking in. Leon Draper from the Teely Energy Racing Kawasaki, or excuse me, KTM's, running in the 4th place position of the XC2250 Pro class. Here's the way we're looking at that one as we see those guys checking in. Craig DeLong leading this one.
Looks like Mike got the pass.
Right, I was going to say leading this one at the end of lap number 1 and making the pass on Mike Wachowski, but now DeLong has dropped to 2nd as Wachowski takes over the lead. Only a 2-second gap between those guys. Jonathan Gerard, Johnny G out of Southwick is running in the number 3 spot. Tegan Temple, the 525 and 4th. Liam Draper rounding out the top 5. And of course his dad over here earlier today racing in the Masters B class, I think it was. It was his first GNCC. Liam was telling me, he said, my dad came over, he said, I'm going to race Florida or I'm going to race Georgia. And Liam said, you don't want to race Florida. So he raced Georgia. And I'm not sure how he ended up finishing, but I know it really meant a lot for Liam to have his dad here and to race like that. Looks like we're watching Caleb Russell on screen again here. He's being followed by Josh Strang, rider going way out of the line there. What was that?
That's Ashburn going out wide, so it looks like Strang was able to get by his teammate Jordan Ashburn there.
What? I think Ashburn just basically opened the door up right there is what it looked like.
I missed the pass when it happened on screen, but yeah, Jordan going out wide trying to make it happen.
Well, like we said, you got to search for those lines to try to make passes happen, and if that's the case, Jordan knows that he needs to make up some time out here now as the front runners starting to stretch out on this one a little bit, as we're talking about XC1 leader Stu Baylor, a 7-second lead. That was even after that pit stop, I believe. So, you know, Stu Baylor missing him, and it looks like Caleb Russell, we are getting reports, has obviously moved into second place as he's gotten around Jordan Ashburn. Josh Strang around Ashburn now for third. Ashburn has dropped off to fourth place position. Now the big question becomes, at the level that Stu is racing at and riding at right now, and as hard as he's pushing, if Caleb Russell starts to begin to close that gap, what kind of mindset is that going to put Stu Baylor in, as we are, well, we're just over an hour into this, and then probably by the time he starts to feel that pressure, we'll be at the halfway point. So that'll be an interesting scenario to start looking at. And actually, in reality, Caleb might be able to get him a little bit faster. I mean, when we look at the grand scheme of things, Caleb was less than 10 seconds behind Stu Baylor in that third place position even. So that gap could close up pretty quick. What's that going to do in the mindset of Stu Baylor? Is it going to knock the wind out of his sails, or are we going to see some inspiration here?
In my opinion, Stu Baylor's going to leave it all on the track. I can tell you that right now. He's not going to let Caleb by. That's not going to happen. There's not going to be a slow-up situation. If Caleb gets by in this day, it's going to be because Stu pushed too hard, okay? Because Stu may be gassed out, but I can tell you right now, it's in Stu Baylor's mind to do one thing. Keep Caleb Russell behind him. Make it to the checkers and pick up that win here today.
You know, I know there's a lot of joking and things like that about Stu Baylor's training regimen, training program, about the ice cream and this, that, and the other on the podium. But the one thing that I can say about Stu, I spent some time with Stu at his house. I met him there at breakfast time, and I spent basically the whole day there at the Baylor compound. And Stu is a lot more in tune with his nutrition than what he lets on out here with the rest of the people. I'm telling you right now, he's more of a machine, and he's more dialed in than what people realize. And, you know, I mean, it's a good persona that he puts out there, but let me tell you, he works hard on and off the racetrack.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Rodney, because it is just that. Sorry, Tyler. It is a persona, because let me tell you, that guy's serious. And if you want to go run with him, go ride bikes with him, go fishing with him all day, walk up and down the hills, go ahead and try to hang with that dude. Believe me, he's a serious cat.
We just watched our XC2 battle going through. It was Mike Witkowski out front, Craig DeLong in second, and Johnny G back in that third place spot. But just like you said, I got a real close buddy of mine, races the XC2. He's not here with us today, but he has spent some time down there training with Stu Baylor in the past, and he told me the same thing. He said it's a charade. He wants people to think that's all he does, but man, Stu is down there in South Carolina putting puddles of sweat on the floor,
yes,
training throughout the week.
Marty Tripes used to bust open a Twinkie and take a bite, you know, but he'd throw the other half away. And pour his beer down in the flower pot while you guys were out drinking. Oh, Marty doesn't train. Marty's not serious. They come and beat you on Saturday. And I see a lot of the same in Stu Baylor.
Hey, it looks like we have a change in fourth place out there. I think Draper has gotten around Temple. We just saw in that last shot coming here by the 2-mile marker there just a few moments ago. Not far behind them, sixth place, Cody Barnes, who was one of our top FMF XC3 125 class riders last year. Evan Smith in seventh, Lyndon Snodgrass is eighth, Thorne Devlin in ninth, and Jonathan Johnson rounding out in the top 10. But again, I think one rider to keep an eye on today might be Liam Draper. We might see some gains. He may not make the podium today, but what we will see out of him, I think, is good, solid, consistent riding.
I think we just barely missed Caleb going through that shot, so I think it is Caleb still right up there, just ahead of Josh Strang there as our top three go by.
Yeah, it looked like that orange was still in view. You know, Strang hasn't let him go by any means. Still has a shot at that fender, can still latch on any time.
Well, I tell you, Lane Michaels still shadowing that 212 machine of Ricky Russell as they came by there through the Monster Mile just a moment ago. So that is I think that would be for that fifth place position.
Lane came down to the finish line, him and his dad yesterday at the quads. Man, always great to see them. A lot of people don't know him and Justin Barsha are best friends. Lane and Justin Barsha. Lane stays at his place a lot. Hell, Lane was best man in Justin's wedding.
Really?
Oh yeah, these guys are great friends, and you know I see Justin a lot at Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. But we struck up a little conversation yesterday, and we talked about the bad luck, the this and that, the Lane Michael, and he said, how about we start tomorrow? And look at this young man's performance today. I mean, he was confident, he was relaxed yesterday as I've ever seen him. And we use this a lot. Oh, hit the reset button, regroup, and this and that. And I think that Lane has truly done that. I think that the program itself has done that for Lane.
There was a 3:14 of Grant Baylor going through there. He is your 8th place ride, just ahead of that, just probably about 8-10 seconds, we saw Andrew DeLong, which that gap is opening up a little bit. DeLong starting to stretch it out a little bit as they are about a minute off the pace of Lane Michael and Ricky Russell, who are battling in 5th and 6th place positions right now. So Andrew DeLong in 7th, 8th is Grant Baylor. Levi Keller, a new face, I think, to this XC1 Pro class out of Ohio. Actually, he's an OXCR guy, if I'm not mistaken, an Ohio Cross Country Racing Association guy. Seen this kid race, I think, moto and everything else over the course of the years, but Levi running in 9th place. And Evan Earl, I made mention, famous, during the opening ceremonies, talking about his name, Evan Earl. You don't know who Evan Earl is, but you know who his daddy is, I guarantee you, right?
The one and only Vance Earl, local legend.
Exactly. And he's not only a local legend, he's an international legend. I'm going to tell you, he's the
Absolutely.
local legend to you guys down here, but for us on the national level, Vance Earl is the man.
You better believe it.
And his boys out there, so good to see Evan Earl out there. He's currently running 10th place in the XC1 Pro class here today. Well, as Stu Baylor continues to lead this one, and everyone tries to match his mark, and Caleb Russell may be about to do it. We're going to stick around here ourselves locally and watch it. You do the same at home. We'll be back right after this with more GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. The all-new from the ground up 2019 Yamaha YZ250F is available at LoJack Cycle Sales, alongside the all-new YZ65 and YZ85, and refined YZ450F. So stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. Rodney Thompson along with Tyler Shepardson, along with Megawatt Matt Watson, along with Johnny Gallagher, and along with the Weeds. Jason Wygand joining us in booth now. And Jason, welcome back to RacerTV.com. Yeah, the crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
You know, I got to commend you. I thought, man, Jason's going out there. He started dead last.
Yeah.
Like 2 minutes after everybody went to the woods, there goes Jason Wygand. I said, he's an animal, man. He's still going after.
Head start.
And then I see you pull in, and I thought, well, he starts later than everybody else. He finishes earlier than everybody else.
That's right.
Then you tell me you're riding sweet.
No, I just went for a trail ride with Jared Bolton out there.
It's a little far for me to make it all the way up to do the morning race. Obviously, this weekend was a little bit off schedule for a lot of people. I was planning on being somewhere in Florida at this point. There were a lot of races that have not happened. This just in, maybe you guys have heard this.
Really?
A lot of activities, a lot of racing didn't happen. So I said, hey, I know one race is still on, and I'm going to go. I'm going to the general GNCC. I hit up Bolton last night. I'm like, hey, how's sweep work? Can I ride the afternoon race and do some laps? So I got to do the first lap, and we didn't even hold them up. We got to the finish line before the Baylor boy came in. We did not get lapped. We did not hold anybody up. We made it.
Wow.
He did not lap us. Yes.
I'm impressed. I'm truly impressed.
There's a Eccles' last single track section is very slow and very tight, and you start hearing the echoes. But as you know, in the woods, you don't know, that echo could be 5 miles behind you, or that could be 1 minute behind you. Yeah, so I start hearing it, and I'm like, someone's going to come in. The whole race is going to come undone because I'm maneuvering through these trees. We made it. I'm going to go back out later on the last lap with Bolton, but for now, let's do some Racer TV.
For sure. Glad to have you out here.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah, man. Oh, no. Stay out of there. Stay out of there. I picked Bolton. I didn't want to do the Tommy Harris treatment. Yeah. And I haven't gone out there with Jeff Russell either. I'm good. I'm good with Bolton. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to take about an hour and a half off here in the commentator booth. And pretty cool. We did get to the finish. And how about the Sherco? It's a sure thing. The Sherco getting it done right now, with Stu Baylor leading the way.
You know, that's impressive. I'm not a bit surprised, though. I'm going to tell you that right now. It does surprise me.
Right.
I will say I was a little surprised and shocked because I thought it was Grant up front more than anything because, you know, he got the better start than Stu. But where Stu came from to get into that position, I have no idea. But, man, this guy's on a mission. I've interviewed him. I spent the day with him. I've never seen anybody really more focused and more intent on proving some points out there. And, you know, anytime that we've ever seen Stu Baylor want to prove a point, it's been proven. That's just the history of things.
Yeah. Knock him at your own peril because he's going to do everything he can to prove you wrong.
Yeah, we just had that discussion. what is the mindset going to be? Great question. What will the mindset of Stu Baylor be when Caleb Russell comes up on him? To keep him behind him. Okay, pretty simple question. The great Roy Jansen last week at Daytona throws a prediction at us. Baylor gets the Sherco figured out. Beware. Roy Jansen's comments right there,
good
dude.
Right now. It's
okay.
Looking good. And in Florida, there they had the mechanical problems, so we didn't really get to see speed-wise on the lead lap what that machine was capable of doing. It was pretty good at the opener, I feel. But you know they're going to make quick gains very, very quickly. And with the talent that he has, any week could be the week where lightning strikes. I don't know if people knew it would happen in the month of March, but here we go. And look at this. Got our leader right here, and he's rolling.
Oh, I thought that was the number one behind him, but he's still got a little bit of breathing room. But he is approaching that lap traffic we always talk about here.
It is the number one, actually, right behind him. And then Ashburn, who was second, is right there as well. So a good three-rider fight up front. And I'll tell you, look, this is the first time I've ever actually ridden the course for the afternoon event, but there are some single-track pro-only sections out there. We know Stu's enduro skills are maybe second to none in the single-track stuff, so that paid off. Ricky Russell coming through.
Wow. Sweet.
Yeah, nice line.
Wow, man. I
was like, what's he doing? Oh, yeah. I see what he's doing to get through that lap traffic.
That was one turn shy of a figure eight. He made it work.
It's the shortest long cut ever.
It was.
Now there is the 127 of Jordan Ashburn coming through. That again was that Strang? I guess
that was Strang.
Yeah, Strang up front there.
So that's a switch up. Strang's been riding well this year though with these podiums, so don't count him out. This is going to be interesting. Now we see the speeds there, see the talents there, obviously as it always is with Stu. But now that we got a one-on-one fight, let's see what happens as we're into the open stuff. And for Caleb, who hasn't had a huge bar-to-bar battle, Florida had his way with it for a long time. Ricky Russell gave him a good run at the opener. But we'll see how he plays it now, having to be the hunter instead of the one with the guys coming after him. Looks like he's starting to close the gap up a little bit, Megawatt.
Yeah, he is starting to close the gap up a little bit. And right now, we look at this hour and 16 minutes into it. Bikes getting limbered up, bodies getting limbered up. Already had a little bit of a look at the track. We see what direction things are going to go here, and look at this.
He's trying to make a pass right now in this open stuff.
That's exactly right. And earlier, the better. You know, this is not a game we talked about earlier. We don't pace anymore in GNCC. No such thing. Those days are gone. And right now, the idea is to get to the lead. And he's taking some unusual lines right now, but closing the real estate quickly.
You mentioned the lines all the way to the left. Caleb Russell on the right. Stu Baylor side by side now. You've never got to see GNCC quite like this until we brought this Yamaha Skycam, this drone in, and now you're getting to see the battles. And has the pass actually been made? I'm trying to figure it out. It might have been.
I can't see that it has been made.
I thought it looked like it as well. I was just trying to get a good view through these trees here, but it did look like.
No, that's Stu.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fantastic.
This amazing.
Here we go.
Trying to gain my bearings.
Yeah, I know, we're trying to figure it out.
What we're looking at here.
I think that might have been Caleb who just sliced his way through.
I think Caleb did get around Stu, though. I think Stu's going to be behind this lapper as they come out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. With those white branches and the white fender on the back of the KTM, I mean, it was just so hard to see. But sure enough, absolutely, it looks like the move has been made, and we're going to see the championship form in style right now, Jason Wygant.
Well, you know he's going to try to put the hammer down. That's step one. See if Stu can run with him. What line is that? All the way over in the smooth stuff, Stu going the same way.
That is something that a normal human being does not think of.
Let me tell you something. If Weege or I would have tried to bunny hop those ruts, and that's exactly what they did. They used a braking bump, hopped up over those ruts, and that's what makes them pros, ladies and gentlemen. Go home and watch this one on TV tonight.
And Lap Rider getting out of Stu's way, so he's free in his pursuit of your leader. So we got to see it here on the Yamaha Skycam. Caleb Russell taking over the lead through that forest. And as the riders will tell you, and now I got to see firsthand when I rode this first lap, there are so many lines here at the General GNCC, maybe more lines in the woods than any race we go to. It's still tight in its own way. Each line is defined by trees or ruts, but you have so many options. It should lead to good racing. It wasn't like Caleb had to wait. He could pull the trigger as soon as he found an opening, and maybe the same for Baylor if he can close back up.
Yeah, what it looks like, Weege, is these guys are able to pass wherever they come to the next rider if necessary. If they have the speed, they're not waiting to set them up. They're not waiting for that, okay, if we get to the bottleneck or we get to that tight right-hander. No, there's an option everywhere on the track. So when you encounter that rider, if you've got the speed, you can make the move.
Now, our report is that Caleb will have to pit as they come through. You saw the FMF KTM team there ready for him. Not sure of the strategy for Baylor. So Baylor might be able to just inherit the lead simply with pit strategy. We'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, we're kind of in another situation like we saw down in Big Buck. The XC1 teams are kind of on alternating pit schedules now. We saw Stu come in and get his pit out of the way early on. He's got to mess with that screw cap and get it in and do his quick fill that way. So he came in, pitted the last time around. This time we'll see Caleb going into the pits, and that alternating schedule each lap I think is going to play a role in the end of this race.
Yeah, a little bailout program for Baylor because he can just get that lead back. As we trace their way through, huge crowd out here. Good to see so many people still coming out and racing this weekend.
You know, we talk about the track going away and this place gets rough and stuff.
Here's the pit stop from Caleb.
I can tell you two guys it's really not going to affect Caleb Russell and Stu Baylor.
No.
The rougher the better for both of these cats. Both of these guys have moto tracks at home and that kind of thing. They're used to tough conditions. They're used to sprints.
I don't think we saw – did you catch Baylor go by? I don't know if he did.
That's him right here.
It's right there.
Yep, he went right by.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah. Basically, as that camera shot came into Caleb, Stu was going around the outside.
Right on. So it paid off. The strategy, at least for the moment, puts Baylor back in the lead.
We see Ricky Russell here down in the coastal Husqvarna pits as he gets some gas, gets a bottle, and he is back under power, making his way off of the pit road as well. BP Fuels Pro Row.
Well, putting the hammer down is key right now. So a second life for Stu Baylor, who lost the lead, now letting it all hang out, trying to maintain that gap. And this is what we want to see. Who is going to challenge Caleb this year? We got a challenger, Ricky Russell, at round 1. And here at round 3, Stu Baylor getting back on his old form on the new motorcycle.
Yeah, and the strategy right now, build that lead, Weege. If we do have to pit, we've got a little in the bank.
Yep.
We've got a cushion, that type of thing. So we're going to see Stu Baylor give it 110 right here, I can promise you.
So we saw Ricky Russell in the pits there. I did not see a shot of Josh Strang. Trying to figure out where we're standing with our Kawasaki guys as far as that third place is concerned. But as we look now, we're still watching Stu through the woods on this Yamaha Skycam.
Should be good now.
It's impressive the pace these guys can run. I remember the first time I ever saw a helicopter. We didn't have drones back then. Helicopter shot of GNCC racing. From that distance, they usually look pretty slow, look like ants. That looks fast. That looks legitimately fast, and we're pretty high up in the air watching this.
You better believe it, and we've all seen overhead coverage at a football game or at a stick and ball sport or maybe a car race, and I will promise you, they don't have the drone pilot we do. I will tell you right now, and I have never seen clarity of a shot like I'm seeing here.
Hey, I keep telling them.
That's the bottom line. I see NASCAR still use camera cable to run it across the track, okay? Because they can't fly one over their car.
All right, we're going to send it down to the pits with Johnny Gallagher. Johnny on the spot. Go, Johnny. Go ahead, Johnny.
Check, 1, 2. Up. Yep, I can hear. We're working, guys. We're down here with Eric Seratten in the Factory 1 Sherco pits. Eric, we were just talking pit strategy. We heard Jason Wygant and those guys up in the booth. They were discussing the fact that obviously you just got the lead back with your pit strategy. You stopped them the lap earlier after 2. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that means you guys are going to have at least one more stop today, correct?
Absolutely. We are going to have to stop one more time, but our idea behind this is if we use less fuel with that slower dump can, we don't have to stay so long in the pits, so hopefully we can just dump them and get them going. Right now, too, also the pit, those tanks, we would be really pushing it to go 3 laps on those things, so it's just smarter for us to keep, doing our stops with every 2 laps.
So obviously you guys had some issues last weekend with the fuel tank, with the dry brake receptacle essentially breaking loose. You explained that was a plastic weld issue. You guys had, I saw some pictures of some options. You decided to go basically with a stock tank, stock cap, and then you went with an Acerbis. It's essentially a dry brake without a dry brake. It's a fast fill fuel can for a stock tank. What was the decision-making process this week? Obviously on a short week, did you guys get an opportunity to test any of that stuff, or you just went with what you knew worked?
Unfortunately, it comes down to product. We don't have anything that's fast enough right now, and there's a couple of people working on it, and hopefully we'll get it going. But honestly, we need safety. We need to finish the races as fast as we can. We need to stay up in the points. So the stock is best right now, and running that dump can is probably our best strategy, just so that nothing can fail and nothing that's not proven gets put on our bikes.
Well, I guess it would be hard to argue against that, as right now you guys are currently leading the race. You're not just out there competing, a brand new team, brand new machine, and after obviously what was a letdown for you guys just a week ago in Florida, to be here today and leading this race, does that feel like a little bit of redemption, at least at the moment?
Yes and no. We need to be there every race. And it's going to be difficult for us to just always be there with not knowing what the little quirks are about these bikes, but we're putting in the hours. I mean, Garrett and I, we went to bed at 2, 3 o'clock every night for 2 weeks straight now, and we're doing our best to give these guys, the riders, the support and the the best equipment that we can provide to them. And we're doing the best we can, and we're going to keep doing the best we can, and so these guys can get on the box.
Well, there you go, folks. The best they can today is the #1 spot. Stu Baylor leading the way. They do have one more fuel stop, so stay tuned. This is going to get hectic down here in the VP Fuels Pro Row, and it's going to be happening quick, so make sure you stay glued to those monitors.
All right, thanks a lot, Johnny. And Jason Wygant in the booth with us here, and also Tyler Shepardson along with me, Rodney Tomlin. I tell you, guys, this pretty interesting. I made mention to you, Jason and Tyler, that this team, I don't think you could have gotten a better team together. The attitude of the Baylor boys and just the true grit of the mechanics, Garrett and Eric there, Seratten, is just unparalleled. I don't think you could have asked for a better combination to introduce something like this to the GNCC than what we've got going on right there.
Well, you see it right now. I mean, look, these are fairly unproven at this race level for 3 hours bikes. I mean, I think you'd take we're going to be a little slower on the gas in the pits as a teething problem compared to the bikes are having major mechanical problems. I know they had to swap a whole gas tank at the last race, but they did finish the race. So first thing when you get a new bike out there, and we've seen other manufacturers try to come in here and do this, and they can't even finish. So honestly, that's a very minor mechanical situation when you're dealing with. Our pit stops are going to be a little bit slower. Bikes aren't blowing up, not having huge problems with the suspension or chassis or anything, and obviously it's fast because Stu's leading the way. So I'd say for 3 races in, and it's only the month of March, we really just got started, that's a relatively minor situation.
Yeah, very, very minor, and very good way to put that into perspective, Jason. And, you know, the one thing to point out about Sherco, though we don't know them in GNCC and really a whole lot in the U.S., they are a rather proven bike brand in the European market. And I know that a lot of the U.S. hard enduro riders, which is not a very big sport, but those that do ride the hard enduros, a lot of those guys like to choose the Shercos.
Yeah, they absolutely do. The Shercos, we've seen them around for a long time, just like you said, overseas and with the hard enduro stuff. But a lot of those are on the 302 strokes, whereas bringing these 4-stroke machines in,
very good point,
I think is what they're really working on developing and trying to get to the front here as we watch Stu come in. But also worth noting, Eric there, as he's talking about changing these parts, we saw at Florida the reason was a piece that they made and put on that bike connecting the dry brake to the gas tank, and he says that going forward they're not putting anything on their bike that's not tested. So it's the quick veteran knowledge like that I think is going to see this Sherco team coming back stronger and stronger each week.
2.4 seconds between Baylor and Russell now. Josh Strang checking in another 6 seconds back in the third-place position. And though we're focusing a lot right now on Stu Baylor and even Caleb Russell, Josh Strang, I think, I know that's another rider we've talked a lot about, Jason, and he's in that third-place position. But how about Jordan Ashburn? I mean, this kid right here, great rides last year on that Kawasaki on more than one occasion. Good, solid stuff. I mean, the thing about it is here, what we're seeing, we saw the consistency start there toward the end of last season, but we're really starting to see great consistency, good strong rides, good hungry rides out of Jordan Ashburn. And, you know, I don't think it's going to be long before we're going to see consistently Team Green Kawasaki's not only on the podium but likely battling for wins here.
Well, you got to figure that's eventually the goal. They were the new kids on the block last year, bringing the Team Green off-road squad back in 2019. But speaking of back, we have a rematch. It's just like we were watching about 17 minutes ago. We've got Baylor and Russell wheel to wheel. It's going to sound familiar to old GNCC. I'm talking wheel to wheel right now. And, wow, you can see how difficult they both exchange mistakes through those ruts as we head back into the woods.
Man, I don't know if you noticed that dirt, very black and moist there on top, but there's getting to be some hard pack red clay underneath there that's starting to shine through. So as loamy and as soft as this racetrack is, we've got some hard spots out there too, it looks like.
Yeah, it's really difficult to figure. You get these shiny spots where the insides, the ATVs kind of polished it off. And there's a lot of tree roots too, which make it even more slick. And then there's other parts that are like riding through a sponge. These guys are the best in the business, though, at adapting to that and reading that terrain quickly, especially, as I said earlier, a track that has so many lines. You got to be thinking the whole time. Every opportunity is an opportunity to pass, but you got to be able to adapt to that and figure that out.
Here comes our XC2 riders, it looks like. This might be our leaders there. Craig DeLong, I believe, making his way in now as we check in with those riders.
Mike Witkowski hot on the heels
with
Johnny G right behind. So notice two of our XC riders are sharing the white plate, indicating that there's a tie for the points lead, and they are not wanting to let each other out of their sights over that battle in the XC2 class.
4 seconds is what separates this top three right now. So another fill blanket over the battle for the lead situation here.
Had to get through a down rider who's just getting back on the motorcycle. As you see, the leaders still Baylor and Russell. Yeah, that XC2 really fun with Witkowski winning the opener, and then it's a points race right in front of him, and he's still obviously in contention for it as well. And they're that close on the racetrack, and 3 different factory-level teams being represented there as well. So that's good stuff in XC2. Baylor holding up under fire right now.
Well, a little interesting notes to ponder on here as far as lap times at the end of lap number 3 and deficits here. 29.46 for Stu Baylor, a 29.39 lap time for Caleb Russell on that lap. He was 2.4 seconds back. Josh Strang, 6.2 seconds back, a 29.43 lap time for him, so he was even a little faster than Stu Baylor. Ricky Russell, 20 seconds back now, a 30.02. Jordan Ashburn, 38 seconds behind Ricky Russell in 5th place. He turned a 30.47. Rider to keep an eye on right now, guess who? The 3:14 of Grant Baylor, just over the 30-minute mark. He's closing in on Jordan Ashburn for a top 5 position right now on that 3:14. Andrew DeLong, another minute and 6 seconds back in 7th place. Lane Michael now just on the rear wheel of Andrew DeLong, at least at the end of lap number 3. or at the end of lap number 2. Lane Michael hasn't checked in for lap 3 complete. DeLong has. So looks like DeLong has shaken Lane Michael. We see Levi Keller and Evan Earl also back there, still yet to check in that XC1 Pro class.
Look at this battle on screen that we have here. Caleb Russell and Stu Baylor, neither one of them willing to give up an inch. Stu Baylor on the back wheel going through that left-hander as they head down the hill and back off into the woods.
Well, you know, on occasion we hear riders say, I had nothing for him. I've heard Caleb Russell say it before, I had nothing for Stu Baylor on this day. Today it looks like Caleb does have something for Stu. It'd be interesting to see if these guys actually literally take this down to the wire like this. Number one, who's going to take the win? And number two, who's going to give the accolades to who rode best?
Yeah, those guys are pretty big on the, I can never tell if it's friendly gesturing towards each other or if it's just plain old trash talk. I can never tell. The line is very blurry between Caleb and Stu. Probably a little bit of both. Ricky Russell coming through this FMF PowerPoint in third. Don't count him out.
So right at the tail end of that one, Josh Strang was actually in third place, and Strang actually looked like he closed the gap up on them and it is gaining some time. So Stu and Caleb, we've seen them battling on camera throughout this whole entire lap. I think they might be slowing each other down a little bit, allowing Josh Strang to really start to reel them in as his teammate Jordan Ashburn is now in the FMF PowerPoint as well.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, Strang, I think he was only 6 seconds back when they came through the barrels, as we would call it, the scoring area. So maybe even closer than that. We had 3-rider fight, get Ricky Russell in there a 4, and then there's Ashburn in 5th, his FMF PowerPoint. So this could get interesting. And you mentioned it, Rodney. Don't count out Grant Baylor here. He's on the gas.
Yeah, he's one of those riders, I swear, he gets faster as the race wears on. It's almost like he uses the first lap and a half, maybe even 2 laps sometimes just to get warmed up, break himself into the race that day and sort out what the racetrack is like, and then all of a sudden it's just a full twist of the throttle and a push to the front. Now, the big question is, how big a gap is he going to have to make up today? Right now, he's 24 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn, but turning a 40-second faster lap time.
Although we'll have to see, I would assume, the same gas situation and pitting that we were talking about with Grant Baylor, or sorry, with Stu Baylor, will apply to Grant Baylor. So he might have one extra stop that the guys in front of him don't have to have. Is XC2 rolling through now?
Yep, and that's Johnny, it looks like Johnny Gerard out in front of Mike Wachowski here.
So that's changed in a
hurry.
hurry.
That's a big change.
Is that Craig in the back? So Johnny G goes from 3rd to 1st. Just since we saw him last.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like I said, there was 4 seconds that separated those front 3 from 1st to 3rd. So no big surprises really, but Johnny G, he got that win I think last race if I'm not mistaken, and I know in South Carolina at Big Buck he was a big force to be reckoned with there as well, and wanted to come out to Florida and prove a few points, and I think he's still on that proving the point page right now as we roll through Georgia.
They got something in the water up there in New England. They just keep bringing. Toth and Kelly, now Johnny G on the gas. And Trail Gestures team doing a great job bringing talent in and restocking the order for KTM. But, Wachowski and DeLong are not going to make it easy on him. Back to Stu here. And he's actually stretched it, I'd say, a little bit. Past Caleb Russell right now.
Should be waiting and see the 114 of Josh Strang here any second as he comes through, and here he is now.
Yeah.
That gap's opened up to about 10 seconds now through the 3rd place position of Strang now, guys. 15 now, actually.
Jason, like you were mentioning, it seems like New England keeps throwing him down here in the XC2 class. Johnny Gerard is actually staying down at Caleb's for a little bit, training down there, and now he's actually going to be staying with fellow New Englander Josh Toth. So they're going to be up in that North Carolina area, Hickory area, training back and forth, which I'm sure it's great to have people like him and like Ben to be able to bounce those ideas off of. And although Ben and Josh are off the bike right now, no doubt he still has a lot to learn. Is Ricky coming through this monster mile, getting a little sketchy, trying to catch up there.
Yeah, that was tough. So those tree roots, they'll come out of nowhere. It just varies so much, the terrain. Like I said, it goes from soft as a sponge and then hard and slick, and then some tree roots thrown in. And then obviously, depending on how hard or soft the dirt is, the ruts get deeper or the ruts aren't even there. So difficult to adapt, even for Ricky. And then should be Ashburn coming through next as we're into this monster mile. But we want to keep an eye out for also, as we go to our specialized replay, here's Ricky Russell. If you want to take us through it.
Yep, coming into that left-hander, coming straight off a high-speed section there, and you see right when he comes around and gets set, that front wheel gets bucked a little bit, but he was able to throw the foot off and maintain it and get right back on the gas as he heads to the right-hander and back up out of that section as Grant Baylor comes in now.
Yeah, Grant looks like he's might be closing up a little bit of that gap. That was, again, remember, he's running about 40 seconds faster than Jordan Ashburn. So has he gotten around Ashburn then? Did we see Ashburn go through?
Unless he came by during that specialized replay, which could have very well happened.
Could have very well happened, but Grant Baylor might be into a top 5 position right now. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that a little further down the trail as we wear on here at the 3-mile marker. So we still got plenty of racing to go on this lap, and just an FYI, just past the halfway point right now. We're about an hour and 37 minutes into this race.
So the battle continues with Stu Baylor leading Caleb Russell. We'll see if pit stop strategy makes a difference a little later, but the battle we really want to see is this XC2 fight, and it continues. 1, 2, 3 coming at you. Gerard, Witowski, DeLong. This is great stuff.
And what a battle, as we mentioned. The points lead is being shared right now. Our 1 and 2 riders, Johnny Gerard and Mike Witowski, are both having that white plate with the green numbers on it, reversed from what our normal colors are, indicating that they are holding the points lead. Only one of them can lead here with that points lead. But with that, it sounds like we got an update from Johnny Gallagher down at VP Fuels.
All right, guys, welcome back to VP Fuels Pro Row here at the General GNCC in Washington, Georgia, and things are heating up. As we talked about, we know that some major happenings are about to take place right here, right in the pits where everybody can see it, and we're going to get it all on camera. We know that Stu Baylor coming in for another pit stop, currently leading Caleb Russell. Could that pit stop play into who ends up leading as they begin to reach around and get that 2-lap card with only 2 laps remaining? Now, as we look at the times, we know that there's only a small gap ahead of Josh Strang, who's currently in the 3rd place spot, and lurking back there in the 4th place spot as well as Ricky Russell. So Stu Baylor's pit stop looms so large right now that this could literally be the difference between him having a quick pit stop and getting out in the lead, or if they're slightly off their game over there, no pressure to the Sherco team, he could come out as far back as 4th place. So this is really going to weigh heavy. We're watching. They're right behind us. They're getting ready, and we know they're working their way this way, and it's all going to unfold here in front of you. We believe everyone else, with the exception of the Sherco team, is done pitting, at least the top runners in the XC1 class. Caleb Russell got his 1 pit in for the day. Josh Strang, Jordan Ashburn, Ricky Russell. All those guys should be, from what we know, done. No more pit stops. Stu Baylor, the last one with the looming pit stop, and it's looming very large at the moment.
All right, thanks a lot for that update from the MMI Pit Stops. Johnny Gallagher. I want to say thanks to Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. Get there faster, smarter. And if you haven't had a chance to check out MI, be sure and do so. Go online, find out more about them. They got great locations: Orlando, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona. I mean, if you're looking to get in the motorcycling industry, that's the way to go.
So we have our FMF PowerPoint, but the pressure point is going to be those pits. As Johnny Gallagher told us, they're going to have to make a quick pit stop without the traditional dry brake system. It's our monster mile that you're watching. The riders work their way through right now. I'd say question number 1 is, will Stu be in the lead still by the time they get there? And second, then it's on the crew to try to get him out, still in the lead. And I don't know. Does Caleb Russell count on that a little bit? Does he have it in the back of his mind a little bit like, hey, I'm going to try to get him right now, but I don't have to get him. I got a fallback, a plan B. I could just get him in the pit.
I almost have to think he realizes, since Stu didn't pit last time around, what's going to happen. He got back around him in the pits. And, yeah, I'm sure he's playing that game right now. But also another game that's going on is the one in the mind of Stu Baylor right now. We saw how he got out front early on in this race, how he rode so hard to stretch that lead out and kind of settled into his pace. And now these guys have kind of bridged that gap back up, especially Caleb out there. Now you're thinking, okay, what's going through Stu Baylor's head? I know, I have to think, at least I would think that going through his head is, I've got to stretch this out. I've got to get as far ahead as Caleb Russell as I can right now, because I don't want him getting back around me. Just like any other great racer, once they get out front, that's when they're hard to track down and hard to get around. And Stu Baylor knows that as well as anyone. So his plan right now, get as much of a lead before they get to the pits.
I'm just pumped to see this kind of challenge we know that the field has been beset by some injuries this year. We lost Thad Duvall, who has been the primary contender for this championship against Caleb Russell the last couple of years. His teammate Trevor Bollinger also out with a knee injury, so that was really tough on that Rockstar Husqvarna team. And then there was so much talk about the rookie Ben Kelly coming in after winning races overall at the end of last year. He's also out with injury. And obviously, the Baylor brothers are a known commodity, but we didn't know about their machine. Could they be at their old pace and their old competitiveness? The answer is, today, it's old school Stu Baylor. He's giving Caleb Russell everything he wants, which is what we want to see. It's a great duel right now.
As we watch for our leaders here now at the 7-mile marker, we are an hour and 42 minutes now into this race, which puts us not far from completion of lap number 4. We should be finishing that in about 14 minutes or so. I believe a 2-lap car will probably come out at that particular point. It looks like these guys are running right in the neighborhood of 30-minute lap times. So with that being said, guesstimating, we should be looking at a 6-lap race, so we should have 2 laps left to go on this one, and that right there may be the saving grace for Stu. If this went to be a 7-lap race, it might really throw a big cog in that for him and really make things a little tough for him. But nonetheless, he's got just 2 laps to go according to the way that we're looking at it right now. I haven't heard any official words on that yet, but that's what Stu's hoping for, and that's what Stu's banking on right now. So again, watching here at the 7-mile marker, guys, for these riders to check in. And again, looking through some of these other classes, we're talking about the Craig DeLong, Mike Wachowski, Johnny Gerard. Johnny Gerard, who was running 3rd in the class, has now moved up into the number 1 spot. Wachowski amazingly staying in the same place as DeLong drops back to the number 3 spot. Liam Draper is now up to a number 4 position. And though this New Zealand rider may be out of the hunt for a podium position right now by about 47 seconds. We've seen some pretty good gains out of him, working his way up from about a 6th place position there on the first, second lap. He's now up to a 4th place spot with Cody Barnes around Tegan Temple also now. Barnes into that number 5 spot. Tegan Temple is 6th, Lyndon Snodgrass in 7th, Evan Smith in 8th, Tom Devlin is 9th, and Benjamin Nelko in the 10th place position. And of course, some rain showers starting to fall here now, it looks like.
Yeah, so now we're looking at this battle, and it's going to come down to the wire between Caleb Russell and Stu Baylor. Now, Caleb, he's come out. He's won the first 2 rounds. He's sitting comfortably in 2nd. Do you think that there's any part of his mind that thinks or that wants to go out and win and sweep the season and win every race, or is he going to be happy?
That's something that I've thought in my own head. I've wondered, is that something that he wants to do? I'm sure in the back of his mind he's thinking that the one thing he's not going to do is say it at this particular point. And the one thing that we're not going to do right now is say it either.
You're responsible for the jinx. Hey, they asked him on the podium there in Florida 2 weeks ago. Okay. And here it is as we see Stu continuing to lead. First rider into the shot here in this Monster Mile on that Factory 1 Sherco. And there is Caleb Russell hot on his heels. Well, Mikey Waynes asked him on the podium in the last race, and he said, I want to win every race I'm in. So, yeah, I want – oh, wait a minute. He stalls coming out of that corner, and just a little mistake. And that's going to allow probably 3-4 more seconds of a lead for Stu. But no, Caleb said, look, the goal, every race I ever enter, I want to win. So that means I want to win all 13. I don't want to finish 2nd in any of the races. And Strang staying right in it right now, Rodney.
Yeah, Strang is not letting this one slip away. I'm telling you, there's a new life to this program, and as much as he don't see it, we recognize it, just like we were talking about that little sparkle in their eyes sometimes that they don't necessarily recognize they're feeling better or looking better, but something happened, the switch flipped for them, and they certainly are doing much better. As we are joined in the booth now by a 3-time winner here in 2020 of the WXC classes. We welcome Miss Becca Sheets back to the program again and say congratulations on another stellar win. Another hard-fought battle. That one was a real fight this morning, it looked like, Becca.
Yeah, thank you very much. It definitely was a tough race today. I had a big crash on the first lap after gaining a pretty big lead, and had to kind of come back from that, and it was just a fight with the top 4 battle all day. We had a really good race, and all the girls were riding good. And
did you guys look anything like that by any chance?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely look probably smoother than Stu Baylor.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
We were railing those corners out there. on the last lap, Tricker was hot on my heels, and we were going through this field section together, and she's super aggressive in stuff like that out in the field, so I had to kind of protect the inside, and we were just railing out there, and it was awesome.
Sounds like it was a lot of fun. We've seen Ricky Russell go through in 4th there just a few moments ago. There's Jordan Ashburn going by in the 5th place position. So you say you got behind the 8 ball there and had to work your way up, huh?
Yeah, I was back and forth quite a bit, and I would get into 2nd, then I'd get back into 4th, and we were just really tight. And the track is very unpredictable out here. There's sections that are fast and flowy, but it's kind of broken up in chunks where it's super technical and very awkward trail to try to find a smooth line through these deep ruts, because the quads yesterday dug it out so deep, and when they doze it, there's just soft lines out there, and you kind of just don't really know what you're getting into if you're coming at it at speed and into a rut. It just soaks you in there and makes it awkward. So
makes me feel better, because I felt horribly awkward when I rode here in this afternoon race with Bolt on, and now I know it's just a track. Just a track, bro. It's all, I'm good.
The track was very technical today, I would say, for sure. Like lots of different terrain and things underneath your bike going on out there.
Well, Jason, again, I told you the story about what Nick Rupert said. He said you were the man on a motorcycle, and some of the things that you can do in some of the races that he's competed in against.
Oh, really?
You. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So, are you sure it wasn't our friend Brian Spencer saying this?
No, it was no. This guy, he can actually.
Brian would say that because Brian is actually blind.
Right, but
literally.
Nick is blind.
Oh,
He is from Wellston, Ohio, and that's one of the smaller communities in my county back home. So I'm just kidding.
Okay. I don't know if anyone said that. We'll stick with Becca for the expert analysis. How it goes.
But yeah, I mean the course. I mean that's one thing that people don't realize sometimes, Becca. The demands that these courses lay on people, especially DeLong having some issues there as well. There's something about this.
He just spun out a little bit.
Is that getting slick out there? Is that why we're seeing some of that?
Yeah, for sure. There's roots all over out there, and it's slippery ground, and you're just on the gas, and sometimes they just catch you off guard and boom, like just swing you sideways. It happens a lot.
So it's raining now too.
Yeah, so it's definitely getting more slippery.
So it's tough on DeLong there on the Honda, but Baylor maintained that lead. Caleb, remember, stalled a shot earlier than this, so Baylor maintaining it. Can he maintain it all the way through the pit? That's going to be the big question. But speed-wise, Russell's had a whole lap to get him, and hasn't been able to get him.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I mean, that little miscue that Caleb saw there, will that be the miscue enough to keep Stu Baylor just ahead coming out of the pits? I mean, those are the little things out there that add up over time, and if he can't get around Stu in the pits, and that might be the turning point of this race, maybe that one little mistake might be what caused the race. I kind of highly doubt it, but we could see it happening there if that's the case.
There's plenty of time to make it happen.
I think this track has a lot of tighter sections, like especially with their pro-only bike section, and then there's another bike-only section. And I think Stu Baylor excels in tight stuff. He likes enduro racing, and so I can see him definitely doing well here today, and I can see why.
99 by there just a moment ago there in the XC class. He was running.
Here's the moment, Rod.
Like we got Johnny Gallagher down in the pits.
Guys, look at this. Stu Baylor is pitted. Here comes Caleb Russell. Is he going to get out in front of him? He's got the fuel. He's taken off. They got to get the cap back on, and he's out hot on the rear wheel of Caleb Russell. That was a very, very, very fast pit stop for no dry brake. They got him in and out. He very nearly maintained the lead. One other thing, folks, we're down here with Jade Baylor. What was the decision on the goggles? Did he go with tear-offs or roll-offs?
Roll-offs.
He took the roll-offs, so keep that in mind, folks. It is raining. These other riders are stuck with the goggles they got. Stu Baylor, because he came in after the rain had started, was able to switch to roll-offs, so he's going to have a little bit of an advantage on the vision department for these last 2 laps.
Wow.
Well, that's why we get someone who's raced GNCC for 47 years with our pit reports. Great stuff, Johnny.
Yeah, thanks for the MMI pit stop update from Johnny Gallagher down on BP Fuels Pro Row. And good point, Jason. and, you know, very interesting. I mean, again, he got around, but that little mistake, that does keep Stu Baylor well within sight. And like you got to keep these guys in sight. As soon as they get out of sight, that's when everything starts falling apart for the guy back in the chase position. So Stu's still within sight, so this might be the saving grace for him to be able to get in and get out that quick.
Well, speaking of sight, so Becca, talk about that. Obviously, you've ridden plenty of GNCCs. You've ridden in rain. How big an advantage might the roll-offs give him with everyone else having the tear-offs?
Well, out here, like I said, the terrain is so different in so many different parts of the track. And one of those things is there's a lot of mud sections, and those guys are going through the deepest parts because they've got their people there pointing them lines. So they're going through the mud, and they're roosting whoever is behind them. So, like, even if Caleb were to follow a lapper through some mud and get splashed, like, he might have that disadvantage where Stu can just pull his little pulley and have clear vision.
Well, I'll tell you right now, there goes Lane Michael making his way by now in the XC1 Pro class. Lane Michael currently looking at his position is running in the 8th place position of the XC1 Pro class overall. That has dropped him back a few positions, but still another stellar ride by Lane. We saw some great and remarkable runs out of him. Speaking of great and remarkable runs, last night we had a chance to run our first round of EMTB GNCC, the electric mountain bike racing, brought to us by Specialized. And I'll tell you, if you weren't around for that one, you really missed yourself an exciting night. You know, a couple of years ago when we first started this thing as an exhibition at John Penton GNCC, a handful of riders coming out and trying their hand at it. Last year we had consistently 30, 40 riders. We had about 35 riders or so here last year. Yesterday, nearly 70 riders lined up on the starting line. That doubles the field of contenders out here, which is a great sign for EMTB GNCC. We saw riders coming from the other disciplines of mountain bike racing, and what we are seeing and recognizing in this world is the fact that GNCC and this national championship is one that is making for some excitement in the bicycle racing world. Johnny Gallagher will get down to you in just a moment.
Rodney, we just talked about the importance of vision. We just saw our XC2 leader, what was our XC2 leader, Johnny Gerard, just came here into the Trail Jesters KTM pits, no goggles on. He was passed by Mike Witkowski and Craig DeLong. He lost 2 spots coming in for goggles, but he had to have the vision. 2 laps left. There's no way you're going to run that long without goggles. Keep in mind, he did take tear-offs. It is raining. Maybe that's the right decision, but if the rain keeps up, you might have wished he would have gone with the roll-offs. So we'll find out here soon. We got 2 laps left. It's getting hot and heavy, man. Those guys are wheel to wheel, the top 3 in that XC2 class. Literally, you could have, slip of paper could have separated all 3 of them. It was wild down here, and we still got 2 more laps to go.
Thanks a lot for that MMI pit stop update from Johnny Gallagher as we wrap up our mountain bike racing from last night. Of course, last year's national champion, chased by his brother-in-law, Action John Ayers, who finished second behind Hot Rod Charlie Mullins in last night's racing event. We saw Jeff McCarron. He had a good ride there yesterday, but all in all, man, even Mitch Hawkins, the son of Randy Hawkins, he won the youth class out there yesterday by far and away. Seemed to be very dedicated to the craft of this EMTB GNCC racing in 2020. And at the end of it, it was the number 1 of Hot Rod Charlie Mullins. That would be his 3rd GNCC championship, if I'm not mistaken. 2 on a motorcycle, now 1 on an EMTB GNCC bicycle.
I've got a chance to live the e-bike life a bit, and the one thing that I always try to explain to people who haven't ridden one of these, it feels just like riding a bicycle. It's not like, it's so easy, it does all the work. You are doing, and Charlie has told me, he's just as gassed, his heart rate is the same as it is, and he's riding a non-e-assist mountain bike, but they're just going a few miles an hour faster. So you get all the same challenges, all the same workout, all the same fun, and it's easy to access places to ride, and it's a lot easier as far as carrying them around or maintaining them compared to a motorcycle, but you get a little more juice.
72-year-old Dick Burleson competing in yesterday's event, you know, and it was funny the way he was talking about how much fun he had and how much a great sport this is becoming. And as we see there, Charlie taking the win there last night. I'm not sure where he finished in his class there last evening, but I'll tell you one thing. That 72-year-old man had more fun than you could ever think that could be had. And that's the one thing he said. It's like riding a bicycle. He says, yeah, we got a little bit of power, but we're still riding a bicycle out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he says, this keeps us young. This keeps us young. Wrong button. He said it keeps us young, and I was like, Dick, I only hope that I can feel just maybe close to what he feels like whenever I'm 72 years old, man. There's not many 72-year-old guys that are in the shape that man is in. Come out here and ride a two-wheeler motorcycle, ride an EMTB GNCC bicycle, and go out and go to work for Moose Racing on Monday. I mean, just pretty incredible guy, no doubt about it.
And I'll throw in one more thing about the e-bikes that's cool is it allows riders of different levels to ride on equal footing. You know, if you're a super athlete like myself, it's really difficult to find someone that can keep up with you and you end up riding on your own. So if someone can just dial in a little more e-assist, they can actually ride with me for the first time, or maybe the other direction.
You and I are going to have to start training together, Jason. I have the same problem.
But, you know, you could have, let's say you're an avid cyclist and your wife wants to try it, or your buddy who isn't into it. With two e-bikes, you could essentially make yourselves ride at the same level, and that's something you never got to do before on a bicycle. So I think it's going to open up the sport quite a bit that way. As far as opening it up, now the question is, you see Caleb Russell coming through the scoring area. Has he opened it up? He has not opened it up on Stu Baylor. Stu is right there stalking him.
29:47. I think a 29:46 was the lap time that Caleb Russell turned the last time around. A 29:51 with a pit stop for Stu Baylor on that one. So right now, you can say that maybe Stu Baylor a little bit faster on the racetrack if you start looking at it like that and looking at the big picture. But the big question is going to be, after 2 more laps of racing here, will he still be the fastest guy out there? Again, we saw him start with a fistful of fury. I mean, the way that he was riding at the beginning of this race would have certainly made most men probably have to stop after that first hour of racing just from the energy that was exerted. And he's exerted a whole lot of energy throughout this one now. Not only is he relying on training, but I think there's going to be a lot of adrenaline that is going to have to start pumping through those veins. And if anybody knows how to control that adrenaline and get it pumping when it's time to get it pumping, I think the Baylor boys, including Stu Baylor, is one of those guys that knows how to make that happen. We have Josh Strang checking in. Now, that gap was 6 seconds at the end of that third lap of racing. I think we counted back, I said 20 seconds at that last camera shot that we picked him up on. 24, call it a 25-second gap, 24.9. Now between Baylor and Strang back in the number 3 position. Ricky Russell still hasn't checked in for lap 4 complete, or has he? No, he hasn't. He was 20 seconds behind Josh Strang at the end of lap number 3, and it's been well over 20 seconds since Ricky Russell or anyone has checked in the XC1 class. So we just basically wait now with bated breath to see who will be that 4th place position rider.
Yeah, there he is right there. That's Ricky Russell there, and he was still in the 4th place spot when they came through VP Fuels Pro Row, but he has lost a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of time. Like you said, I mean, it was 20 seconds between 3rd and 4th at the end of lap number 3 as Ricky Russell checks in here at the end of lap number 4. We see that now 1 minute and 32 seconds. And wow, I mean, to lose that much time and not get past, I think, is as remarkable a feat as anything.
Well,
it might happen, though.
Yeah, you just mentioned not getting past. Well, they're hot on his heels, the 127 Monster Energy Babbitt's Kawasaki of Jordan Ashburn. Now, remember, Ashburn running up early in that number 2 spot. And look at that. Grizzly Grant, 314 on that Factory 1 Sherco in the 6th place spot is absolutely on the hammer. And we know, Rodney, if you could pick one guy you don't want to have you behind you in the last 2 laps of a GNCC, let's throw a name out there.
Grant Baylor. That's the one I don't want behind me. I mean, he or Stu. I mean, those guys, both those. I do not know. I can't fathom how after 2 hours of racing at this intensity, how they can dig so deep and bring up so much energy in that last.
Reserves, man, reserves. That's what it's all about. They've got these energy stores around their midriff, and they'll tell you if you ask them. They store the extra energy there, and they lean on it. XC2 leader on screen, Craig DeLong, and we saw this was a wheel-to-wheel battle. It was Johnny Gerard leading the way as they came into VP Fuels Pro Row. He did have to stop for goggles. He was passed by Wachowski and DeLong, and it appears now that they have gapped out just a little bit on Johnny Gerard, but those two wheel-to-wheel battling over that win in the XC2 class. And this is, I think what we're watching on screen between these 3 is the early makings of a championship battle for this season, for sure. I mean, these 3 have established themselves. Stu Baylor coming back the other way. And has he gotten around Caleb Russell? He has. Back in the lead.
Oh, man. How did he do that?
That's a statement right there.
That is a big statement. By the way, Craig DeLong checked in 5th place overall, not only leading the XC2 250 Pro class. So he's moving up unadjusted time as well as physically through the class right now.
It's fixing to get good here now that Stu has gotten back into the lead. And you did see Johnny Gerard not too far back, by the way, in that XC2 class in third. So the three of them are still in the hunt. I want to ask, Becca, you've had a really good beginning to the season. What's been the difference this year? Do you feel you're riding better? Is something clicking? Obviously, the results are good. What's happening there?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. But honestly, I just feel like home riding this Yamaha, and the bike really caters to my riding really well, and it fits me well, and my setup is really awesome, and I'm just feeling good, and I feel like I can go fast and have fun doing it, and I'm just enjoying that.
On screen right now,
what these guys are doing.
Yeah, on screen is our leaders. Battle for the lead. Sorry, Becca, just wanted to point that out, but look how close they are in a nose-to-tail battle going on right now.
And the intensity is definitely picked up. You can see they're throwing it all out. No more strategy games. Now it's go as fast as you can and try to just put that hammer down and get away. It's fun to watch, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you saw that corner that Stu Baylor made, that left-hander, he was on the rear wheel the whole way through in the rut, just leaned back. That was a Baylor turn right there. I mean, that was something you'd see in the TKO or an Extreme Enduro. The ruts are getting deep. The track is getting soft. You know, Becca, obviously they were asking you about exactly the differences in your program, but let's talk a little bit about this track. And if I'm rehashing something you guys have already talked about, but it seemed like today and yesterday as well, I can say from experience, but it seemed to only get worse when I was out there this morning watching your race. How many kind of hidden obstacles and hidden pitfalls are out here on this general track?
Yeah, there's tons out there. There's a lot of lower bottoms that we're running and crossing through, and the ruts just get deeper and deeper, and you have to just kind of know where you can and where you can't go, because if you don't know, you might make the wrong choice and kind of sink it out there. And then other spots are dusty, you're kicking up dust. Other spots are slippery with your rear tire, no traction. It's just a mix-up of everything out there, but the ruts are definitely deep everywhere.
So you mentioned those deep ruts and knowing. How much did things change in those holes from lap to lap?
They didn't change too drastically after the first couple laps, but from lap 1 to like lap 3 was a major change because they dozed it last night. So by lap 3, everybody had gone through, and it went from like smooth to just bike ruts everywhere, and you just kind of had to know where you could and couldn't go.
When you have that many lines, how difficult is it to be patient, to not just automatically take a different line of the rider you're battling every time? They might be in the good line. You probably don't want to follow when you see 5 different places to go.
Yeah, well, when it's a really bad section, typically you can trust the woman in front of you if you're battling, you know, like Mackenzie or Taylor or whatever. You could trust that they're going to make it through the line. It's the lappers that you have to be able to be patient with, you know, like if they take the good line, sometimes it's more important for you to wait behind that lapper and follow him through the good line and not take a risk and drown your bike somewhere else.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. There's so many choices.
Update. Grant Baylor around Jordan Ashburn and into the 5th place spot and tracking down Ricky Russell very rapidly. So we talked about the fact that Grant Baylor is a rider you do not want behind you with 2 laps to go, and as they're now working their way towards a white flag waving, he has worked his way around this guy. It looks like Jordan Ashburn may have had some troubles. He has got some roll-off film just streaming away from the side of his face there. So those goggles are not at their optimum performance right now. He's essentially, that's nothing more than a windscreen. He has no ability to clear that. The film that clears his vision is hanging off to the right side. So that an unfortunate turn for him. Here is Craig DeLong, your XC2 leader, the 342 machine on that Rockstar Husqvarna, the 282 with the reverse number plates, your points leader. Mike Wachowski on that Ampro Yamaha, and these guys are laying it all on the line. They know that ahead of them is a white flag and only one more lap. Both of these guys feel that this race is the race they need to make a statement. Mike Wachowski already with the win. Craig DeLong badly wanting one. There is Johnny Gerard right there in 3rd altogether. Stu Baylor leading the way. Look at this. We got both battles on screen. Stu Baylor in the Monster Mile leading the way. Caleb Russell hot on his heels. And these guys, it appears that Caleb is a bit more composed right now. Stu Baylor seems to be sprinting, and Caleb seems somewhat content to, I wouldn't say let him lead, but he doesn't look like he has a huge sense of urgency, like he really needs to get around Stu Baylor.
It looks like Caleb has a plan, so let's hope that he does.
Unless you're a Stu Baylor fan, and then you hope that he does.
Right, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Josh Strang on screen in the 3rd place spot, and we've talked about the rejuvenation of this guy, and here is just another aspect, you know, another facet of himself that he's showing us. Not only is he in a podium position, but, I mean, you can't argue he is absolutely within striking distance of the leader still.
If there was a problem, and it could happen in a tight section, which there are many here, he'd be right in it, Strang, on that Monster Babbitt's Kawasaki. I talked to him a little bit before the race, and he said he was dealing with some injuries last year it kind of kept it quiet. Not major things, but just enough to take him off his normal pace. Seems to be back to the old Josh Strang level here, which is podium at worst. And who knows, maybe even in the hunt for the win if there's a problem with the 2 riders in front of him.
Yeah, one time you could count on Strang every week with a podium position. It's just what position was it? I mean,
Yes.
the guy was going to be there and, working his way back toward that right now.
And that's good for the Kawasaki folks in year 2 of their rebirth into GNCC. Man, you really get an idea of how tricky this section is. And we saw Ricky Russell almost go down through these tree roots earlier, 1 lap ago. And yeah, you had to see Caleb Russell couldn't throw it all at this section. Had to kind of check up a little bit. Waiting on the rest of the field to come through.
Jason, you mentioned the roots, and I think the one thing that really is even getting more complicated now that it is raining. I mean, it's not rained all that hard, but those tree roots, as you guys know, I'm a quad guy, and I know how slick those things get. So as a bike rider, you really have to respect those roots when it starts raining. When they're dry, you can get a little bit of traction on those things. When it's wet, they might as well be made ice. Ricky Russell on screen, still in that number 4 spot, but if you look in the background, there should be a white Sherco coming. It looks like Ricky's actually been able to stretch it back out just a little bit over what we should see coming, the 314 of, wow, he's stretched it back out a good bit. So maybe he got a pit board saying, hey, the grizzly bear's coming and you don't want to get bitten.
Expanding on what Johnny said, we talked about all this stuff, and I've seen there's just too many trees to not have the roots, and my mantra was always beware the shiny yellow root. And when that thing gets wet, it's just a gamble. That knobby catches that thing wrong. No matter how much experience these guys have, that root can put you on the ground faster than anything.
Becca, I think you know a little bit about those roots out there this morning, and you took yourself for a little ride on one, no?
Yeah, I went to go between a couple trees, and it was a clear line, but I was a little too aggressive, and the leaves were covering up a big root out there, I guess, and yeah, sent me flying into the tree.
Well, flying through the trees right now is Jordan Ashburn, but he's flying through the trees with no goggles at all. We mentioned before that roll-off film was hanging. He finally had enough of that. Look at that, Craig DeLong, no goggles. Craig DeLong leading the way. And look at this, he stretched it out just a tiny little bit over Mike Witkowski, and Mike Witkowski has got a rear view mirror full of the 969 of Johnny Gerard. And I tell you what, if there's one rider that I think could turn some heads today, obviously he won just a week ago in Florida, but Johnny Gerard, as these conditions get slicker and as this track gets gnarlier, he's a New England Ripper, and he's not scared of a little bit of rain or some slippery tree roots. To them, that's just basically like an appetizer. That's just getting to the main course. He loves it. He's saying, bring on the rain, boys.
And he has goggles on.
And that's a great observation. Goggles are key. In vision, that's why I pointed that out with Stu Baylor's pit stop. I don't know if they cut to the camera or not, but the cameraman down there was showing Jade Baylor, Stu's wife, had both goggles for him. She had roll-offs, she had tear-offs. When he came in, they had a couple extra seconds just because of the fact that they get to have to take the cap off due to their current fueling situation. So she actually asked him, which do you prefer? And he grabbed the roll-offs. There was no hesitation. So I think he knew with the rain, with the conditions, and probably thinking, hey, I know Caleb Russell's about to pass me, so I'm going to have to pass him back. Even on a good day, riders can put maybe at absolute maximum 21 tear-offs on, where roll-offs are upwards of 100 pulls that you get. So that it's absolutely the right decision on a day like today. There we see Lane Michael on screen. He's definitely fallen back. He had a solid day going earlier for sure.
2 hours and 10 minutes now into this race now. As we are watching, there is Andrew DeLong checking in now. He is still a top runner in the XC1. He's 11th place overall after time adjustments with Witkowski and, of course, Craig DeLong and Johnny G there. And Liam Draper now in 4th place is 10th place overall from the XC2 250 Pro class. And as we watch this all unfold here, you folks might notice there on the left side of your screen, our Moto Hero. We congratulated our Moto Hero, David Parsons, this morning from the Masters B50 Plus class. And I'll tell you, that is a great opportunity for us to take and recognize the men and women of the armed forces that race here in the GNCC Racing Nation. We get a chance to give them a plaque, but even better than that, our good friends from GBC Tires, their parent company actually supplies, Canati Tire supplies a brand new set of truck tires that we give to the Moto Heroes. So thanks to GBC Tires, Canati Tires, their parent company, of course, and congratulations to David Parsons, Masters B50 Plus class. You are our Moto Hero. And, of course, we all know that there are a lot of heroes out there in the pits and on the racetrack, and oftentimes that hero is the mechanic, as we've seen so many different times. And we like to take this opportunity to spotlight our top mechanics out there. And this week, we do it one more time with our Motorcycle Mechanic Institute Mechanic Spotlight.
Hey, Doug Duchette here from Kawasaki Team Green. Just wanted to introduce myself in the world of GNCC racing as well. So I'm a motocross mechanic and an off-road mechanic for Kawasaki Team Green. I have been for many years. I originally got into the sport as a racer and enthusiast myself. I raced for a good number of years, GNCC, National Hare Scrambles, National Enduros, and of course the Netra Series back in New England from where I'm from. I worked at a dealership for a good number of years, Midtown Kawasaki. And here I am today with the Babbitt's Monster Energy Kawasaki race team. So the cool thing about the industry is that you can be a racer, and you know, it's how most of us get into this sport. You know, you're behind the bars one day, and then you know, you're outside the semi looking in for autograph sessions. Next thing you know, you're on this side of the fence. And that's the unique thing about this industry, is that or this series and this sport, is that you can transition from a off-road racer, enthusiast, motocross racer into the industry, because at that point in time you have a lot of experience and expertise that applies to the mechanics of the motorcycles and just, you know, preparation for each race. So it's like a seamless transition, how you can you know, basically transfer from a racer one day to a you know, a factory mechanic the next day. So the cool thing about it as well, you know, I've been around for a good number of years, even though I bounce around back and forth from being a motocross mechanic to an off-road mechanic. Kind of the cool nature of this this sport is that, you know, we have the likes of Joey Maurer, who's been in the industry for a good number of years, Freddie Andrews, who I've watched as a racer, you know, and now we're on this side of the fence, you know, running race teams and supporting our racers. It's kind of cool. I've pretty much spun wrenches for the likes of so many riders that are proficient and pro riders to this day. You know, in our current race team program for Team Green, I'm still working with a lot of the amateur kids coming through the program in motocross. And then here we are in off-road. I mean, Grant Davis is our future. It's just a phenomenal individual, and we have a lot of faith in him. Jojo Cunningham. Then our current team, we have Lyndon Snodgrass, Josh Strang, and Jordan Ashburn, who are just doing a fantastic job for us right now. Can't be more proud of our team.
Well, there you go. Doug Duchette, who has been a big part of the off-road racing scene for many years, slipping away over to the moto side of things with Team Green for a while, but back here with us in the off-road racing world. So good to have him, and thanks to Motorcycle Mechanic Institute for allowing us the opportunity to introduce to you, reintroduce, I guess I should say, that young man, Mr. Doug Duchette. Hey, you know, we've been talking so much, and while I got a moment here, I do want to throw this out here. We were talking about the dry brake systems and stuff, but the balers and the gas tanks and stuff. I just got a message from Ryan Krause at I believe it's Community Off-Road Sherco. They're the ones making the dry brake tanks for Shercos, and they wanted to update the broadcast team since no one else has done it, it seems like. It says, as you and some other people know, the last week's tanks were prototypes. We've tested them, but not to the extent of what the balers put them through. We were hoping to have molded tanks by Florida's race, but due to the virus outbreak in China, the mold factory was closed 3 to 4 weeks, putting a big kink in the production of these tanks and getting them to the balers in time. We should have them for the next round. Hopefully the balers will want to and be able to put them to the test. So so that's good news. Thanks, Ryan Krause, for updating us on that. That gives us a little more insight on what's going on in that department.
Right from the front lines. Good stuff, Rodney. And the leaders came through.
Yeah, leaders through at the Monster Mile there. It was Stu Baylor still leading the way. Hot on his heels, Caleb Russell. You can see, though, I mean, we saw right there in that shot just how slick those ruts are and those roots. I mean, look at this. We've got Josh Strang still charging, and he doesn't seem to have lost much time on the leaders, and he looks really smooth. He's picking good lines, he's carrying his momentum, and he just looks very under control and calm right now. Here is the battle on screen from our Yamaha Racing Skycam out in the open sections. That is Stu Baylor out front on the Factory 1 Sherco.
Caleb Russell in second on the FMF Red Bull KTM. And, man, they are making sure they hit all the lines because they know one little slip up and it's the difference between winning this race or losing. The white flag's waving just a few miles ahead. These guys are now out reaching near, there it is, the 8-mile marker. They've just gone by. And, oh, that's actually not them. But here they come. There's Stu Baylor coming around the corner, and Caleb Russell hot on his heels. You see dust kicking up there. Despite the rain, there's still some good traction. You just got to find it.
This is so fun to watch with a classic battle between these two. Have had many great ones through the years. It definitely seems like early season races. Maybe it's a little bit closer to South Carolina where Baylor's from. We've seen some early season attacks from him. I was afraid we wouldn't get it this year as they're working on this new motorcycle. They've obviously got this thing super well dialed in right now because he has led up until essentially the white flag, which will be out soon. It's a heck of a run on this new machine.
You got to wonder how much of this is just almost, I don't want to say revenge because he's not mad at anyone in particular, but you could tell Stu Baylor was very frustrated a week ago in Florida. And I think part of this might just be pent-up frustration from the week of thinking and wondering. And you can see these guys are split by the trees, and that's about the only thing between them right now. But I think Stu Baylor is just riding. You know, years ago he had that nickname All Heart. And I think he's riding on all heart right now. There's so much passion for the sport, so much passion for this new brand, and he's wanting to make it work. And right now he's got the man that has won more of these than anyone else in recent memory on a two-wheeled machine and is hot on his heels. Stu Baylor, you know, man, so many fans are behind you right now wanting to see this new team, new machine, and a guy that seemingly had a good ride going in Florida until, you know, some issues. So much happening here on screen.
I think Stu Baylor could be riding a snail right now, and he'd have a whole lot of people behind him trying to
look at this. Here it is, the battle for fourth on screen. Ricky Russell, and right now on his rear wheel, Grant Baylor, the 314 machine. So that would be another Sherco up. Yeah. Well, he's already into the top 5, so that's 2 in the top 5. But he's looking like he's putting some pressure on Ricky Russell for that fourth place spot.
You know, I was doing some math and some calculations whenever Grant made the pass into that fourth place position a little bit ago, or fifth place was tracking down Ricky Russell for fourth. I started doing the math here. I thought, man, is it possible? Will even he be able to make something like that happen? Then I looked at the gap. 1 minute and 32 seconds was what we saw between third and fourth place position. So unless something happens and Josh slows it down, I think that we are looking at our podium with, however it finishes, with Russell and Baylor and Josh Strang there in third.
XC2 on screen. Craig DeLong leading the way. Mike Witkowski still there in that second place spot. Johnny Gerard in the third place spot. And those guys are wheel to wheel to wheel with XC1 runner Jordan Ashburn right behind them there on the number 127 Monster Energy Babbitt's Kawasaki. Man, these guys are really pushing the pace. And this one is, in my opinion, is only going to ratchet up on this last lap. Once they see the white flag, it's going to be an all-out sprint for those three guys. And they are going to be pinned trying to make it happen. Here we see, I believe that is still, is that Stu?
I think that's Stu.
Yep, I believe it. By the way, he's riding with a whole lot of aggression. I think that is Stu Baylor.
Man.
And it is Stu Baylor, and we know just behind him, last we saw, Caleb Russell was still there. He's not made it into the shot yet, so it looks like Stu may have opened up this gap just a tiny little bit for the moment.
What a statement it would be for Stu Baylor, the first time that we see a Sherco on that overall podium at a GNCC, to be right in the center of it.
Well, you guys heard what Eric Sorotin said. He said, you know, we want to be on the podium. If we can do that today, we'll be happy. And he said, man, Stu really wants to win, though. So it doesn't seem like, you know, he's not happy with building up. He wants to make, as you said, Tyler, a big statement, and he wants to make it today. These guys right now, they're coming to VP Fuels Pro Road. Don't anticipate any stops, but you never know. With the rain and the goggle situation, we may see some guys come in for towels for the grips and or possibly fresh goggles. Pitboard going out to Baylor, and he is still leading the way. Caleb Russell not in the shot, so we'll have to get a little bit further back to see just how far back Caleb Russell is in the number 2 spot.
Well, they have thrown everything at Caleb Russell and then some today. Several times, Russell to the lead, and each time Stu able to answer back. It's wide open to the pits. No reason for pit stops any longer, and it is on. Now we get to see the gap. That's still pretty small.
Yeah.
Definitely manageable. Yeah.
Not much. Here we see Josh Strang now. Or no, that's actually Stu Baylor going back the other way. He's headed now over to the finish line where he will have waiting for him a white flag, meaning one more lap of racing. And I tell you what, watching Stu Baylor ride right now, I don't think this is calculated. I don't think this is managing. I think this is everything he's got, an all-out sprint. He is right now trying to break Caleb Russell.
Yeah, sure will, desire. That's what he's riding on right now. I almost have to think. And oftentimes that's what carries him to where he needs to be. with just a little more than a lap left to go here. The question is, will he be able to maintain this type of pace for 3 solid hours? I mean, he's ridden like this since the waving of the green flag.
You know, the one thing I'll say on that, Rodney, I don't think we've ever seen Stu run out of juice on the last lap.
I know.
You know, we've seen him where he kind of goes flat in the middle and never picks it back up. But when Stu's charging at the end, I don't think we've ever seen him, you know, come up just short on energy. It's like it's either all there all the way to the finish, or he almost just doesn't have it the whole day. Today he's obviously had it. I don't think this is going to come down to fitness. I don't think this is going to come down to, you know, whether or not Stu Baylor has the juice to go the distance. I think this is just going to come down to line choice, and as close as these guys are, you know, you can say it's luck, you can say it's racecraft, you can say whichever. These guys are battling close, and this is going to come down to track position, line choice, and a little bit of luck.
Yeah, maybe a lot of luck. You never can tell. We have a pretty good contingent of riders out there.
Oh, look at this. They're both stuck.
In the same
Stu
rut.
Baylor is stuck. Caleb Russell's stuck behind him.
I think Baylor's going to get the better of it. Whoa.
Yeah,
Baylor was
stuck again.
Caleb can't get going. Caleb is buried here in this rut. He's got some fans coming to help him.
Look at this rider jumping off his bike to help Caleb.
Wow, dumped his machine down. Wow.
I tell you what, that may not seem like much, guys, but that was probably almost 10 seconds that Caleb Russell was stuck there. After Stu Baylor launched his machine out, we saw Caleb actually step off the side of his machine and basically super launch his bike to try and get it through that rut. That was wild.
More importantly here, I think this opened up the gap for Josh Strang to really close down the battle and gain a little bit of time on these top 2 as well.
Yeah, you're a very good point. And if we see Josh Strang get a hint of this, it could be a pretty interesting battle for second place. Our specialized replay. Here's what happened. You see Stu just went into that rut. He got stuck. It's just one of those low-lying soft areas that we keep talking about here in Georgia.
Yep, and you saw him bottom out when he tried to go up the other side. And Caleb, you saw, it wasn't Caleb getting stuck. That was all brakes. He was grabbing the brakes, trying to stop. And probably what he was trying to do is see that rut just to the right. He was trying to stop and get into that other rut. Unfortunately, he was too close. He was too committed, and he wasn't able to get that machine stopped in time. So his only option was to stop just a bike length or 2 back to try and get more of a run. This is the one situation, or one of the situations, where Stu Baylor's size comes into play here. Yeah. He's a much larger, stronger guy. He was able to kind of throw his girth into that machine and force it up out of that rut. Caleb Russell, a little bit smaller in stature, just didn't have the oomph to kind of get that KTM 350 up out of that rut. He got a little bit of help from some spectators, and as we pointed out, or Tyler pointed out, another racer laid their bike down and helped Caleb get through that section, and now he is back in pursuit of Stu Baylor. But I got to believe we're looking at somewhere between an 8 and a 10-second gap based on that instance alone.
Well, that was the question when we had Becca Sheets here in the booth about 10 minutes ago. I was asking, there's so many ruts, so many lines on this particular course. How do you choose to just always go in a different line? Or, nope, I got to follow, that's the premier line. They ended up in the same spot. Baylor didn't get through. And then, oddly enough, it actually worked in Baylor's favor because there was really only one premier line. And I use premier with air quotes because even that was difficult.
We got a change up in the XC2 class. Those guys just came through VP Fuels Pro Row. Craig DeLong still leading, but Johnny Gerard has gotten around Mike Witkowski, now into the number 2 spot. But folks, don't start handing out the trophies just yet because that one is far from decided. Any one of those 3 could be in any one of those spots. Jordan Ashburn still lurking back there. A solid ride for Jordan. Definitely, surely not what he was looking for based off of the strong run that he had early. But, that's something looking at these first 3 rounds. Jordan's been really strong early in these races, and then something kind of happens in the middle, and these guys are getting away from him. So, with this 3-week break before we go racing again, he's going to be looking at that and figuring out, because surely he's shown he has the speed. We know the team is strong. We know the bike is good. Josh Strang up there running a podium position just ahead of him. It's still a good day for Jordan, good points. But, man, that XC2 battle, I can't decide what's more exciting. It might only be 2 riders in XC1, but I think at the moment that battle is just a little bit more heated. But that XC2 battle with 3 riders, that's just a whole nother element there.
And Johnny, like you mentioned, with all of them coming in together, they've swapped places throughout this whole entire thing. It seems like every other time that we're seeing them on camera, it's a different running order in the top 3 in that XC2.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been that close, and then taking advantage of mistakes here and there. I like what I'm seeing from Witkowski. He seems really determined this year. Got the new ride with Yamaha, and we've seen the other guys have their share of the lead in this one. We'll see how Witkowski plays it down the stretch. DeLong running well. Obviously, Gerard running well also. Waiting on our leaders here on our Yamaha Skycam.
We're waiting, hoping to get another shot. Rodney, yesterday when you were watching this is my first opportunity to see the live feed, obviously. Was the track this dynamic yesterday in terms
Yeah.
of how it? Because I really feel like we've got another competitor today, and it's the track.
It's different. There is a different dynamic to it, but there was a great dynamic to yesterday's track. We had a lot of the same drone shots that we're watching here. We saw good battles for the lead between Walker and Chris Borch. Then we saw that battle down to the wire for the podium finishes there between Chris Borch and
Bryson Neal.
Right down to the very wire for second place there. So yeah, there was a big dynamic in yesterday's track, and there were a lot of great passing opportunities. Now we didn't see as many change-ups as far as line choices and stuff, but there was some changes out there, but not quite as much as what we're witnessing today.
Well, this facility also always offers a very dynamic and kind of fluid racetrack. It changes as the race goes on. It changes as the moisture in the ground changes. And most importantly, it changes as the riders develop new lines. And even more so on the bike side of things, there was a lot of new lines developing yesterday on the ATV side. Here we see Stu Baylor leading the way. He is out into this open section and hard on the throttle. And again, full-on sprint from Stu Baylor in that Sherco machine right now.
This is his chance. Got the mistake, but they both got stuck in the rut, pulled away a little bit more, and now it's a chance to be out of sight. Is that Caleb Russell?
It appears to be.
Yeah.
So he is still in sight, still can see Stu Baylor, and right now, after just these two tabletops, a right, left, and another quick right, they are going to see Ricky Towery with Stu Baylor goes down. He's able to get up. They're going to be side by side. Caleb Russell runs it up the inside. Stu Baylor closes the door and maintains the lead, but now, could you ask for anything more? Wheel to wheel and a white flag waving. Boys, somebody better call the fire department because this one's about to catch fire.
A mistake from Caleb lets Stu pull away a little bit, and then a mistake from Stu.
Oh, goggles.
This?
He needs goggles.
So he's got the goggles. He's going to only lose a couple of seconds there, but still that could be some very valuable time that could pay huge dividends that could have maybe afforded him a pass, like whenever Stu made that little mistake there coming into the finish line region. Something like that happened on the last lap. That might be it, but it might be all the difference in the world for Caleb Russell now that he's got a clearer vision.
Yeah, absolutely. You're kind of, it's almost when you're sitting there behind somebody with no goggles, you're kind of in a lame duck situation. You can be faster, but you really can't get close enough. Here we go. This is what happened coming into the finish line. You can see Stu Baylor up in that right-hander. Looks like the front end just pushes into that deep silt in that berm where everybody's been blowing it out wide. Baylor up quickly and on the throttle, but Caleb Russell seeing his opportunity, probably knowing that he needed goggles, he was probably trying to get ahead to see if he could slow Stu down just a little bit. You can see there, no goggles on, so that wasn't a situation of deciding he wanted different goggles. He had none, he needed them, he had to come in, and we'll have to ask Chandler Russell later exactly what was going on here because she apparently decided she was going to give Caleb Russell her coat.
I'm not sure.
Did you guys not notice that the first time? Because I absolutely did.
Yes.
I don't think he's asking for your KTM jacket. It is chilly, but I think he's plenty warm right now. We mentioned calling the fire department because this one is heating up. Caleb Russell hot in pursuit of Stu Baylor. You can see the gap still very manageable there. They are, oh, look at that. Stu Baylor having to dab and almost come to a stop in that rut there. Man, this track is just getting so deep.
Well, we saw when they were coming around for the goggles, JoJo Bowden was down there trying to hand them to him at the corner, and Caleb didn't see him and went right by him. So I think Chandler might have thought he still had his old glasses on or goggles on and was trying to wipe them off with her jacket, but maybe she was trying to give it to him.
Who knows? Or the jacket was the ultimate smoke signal of stop, stop. We've got goggles for you, I promise. That was bizarre. Yeah.
That's for sure.
Okay, so now this Yamaha Skycam, we've been able to follow this. I think this is the third lap in a row that we've seen these two in this section battling it out. And there are so many lines. I know I've said it over and over, but that really is the trademark of this track now that we're back to Aonia Pass. So many different lines in these woods.
Yeah, and with one lap left, that's going to play all the difference as this battle is going to come down to the wire. Who is going to find the best lines through these sections?
Man, I wish I was flying in this Yamaha Racing Skycam right now because I would be down in those trees, dodging the trees. I'd be like a little drone pilot myself in there. Now, keep in mind, I flew a drone one time. We still don't know where that drone is. So don't let me fly it if the Racer TV crew is listening. I'm a talker, not a pilot, apparently.
Nonetheless, you know, this is absolutely. Oh, there we see Grant Baylor checking in, and has he taken over the number 4 spot? I believe he has.
Yes, he has. He is around now. He's a minute and 43 seconds behind Josh Strang. He turned to 31:10. Josh Strang at 31:26, 16 seconds faster. That's not going to be enough to shave that minute and 43 off.
Yeah, and I don't see Josh Strang slowing down enough on this last lap to allow that to happen. Obviously, a lot of elements out there that could come into play, but in terms of outright speed and what they've been doing, I think Josh Strang pretty comfortable there in that 3rd place spot. But again, we can't write him off. How far is he behind Caleb Russell as of now?
Who's that?
Josh Strang.
Josh Strang is
minute and 17.
Minute 17. So
wow.
there's
So
a
that
big
gap.
That changed.
Yeah, that was a big change.
But here's an interesting scenario.
XC2 leader, Craig DeLong, the number 342 machine that rocks. Again, no goggles. He hasn't had goggles for a full lap, so we'll have to see if he makes that stop. You got to believe with the gap that he's been able to open up, he's going to try and get some fresh goggles.
But the interesting scenario as
Wachowski.
And Gerard was between them. Gerard was 2nd and Wachowski in 3rd.
Oh, yeah.
So it does not look like Johnny Gerard was able to get goggles there. He did not have goggles on. So number 1 and 2 in the XC2 class battle, and they're pretty much wheel to wheel at this point, no goggles. 3rd place rider, Mike Wachowski, does have roll-offs on.
But as I was saying, how monumental would it be if both Shercos were able to get on the podium today?
Well, they would like to do it in first, and that is how Stu Baylor is running right now. You see Caleb maybe a little closer than they were after the goggle stop, but it's going to be good in the FMF PowerPoint. You can really see the areas where you can either gain or lose ground. It's so technical through here.
Watch this left turn. Let's see if Stu Baylor does it again. Last time through, he not quite as good that time. He was literally on the rear wheel the whole way through the rut a lap ago when they came through there. It was impressive to watch, to say the least.
Man, it doesn't get any better than this. A last lap duel, and like I said, a lot of big names out injured this year. The question was who would throw the challenge to Caleb Russell. It's his old buddy, Stu Baylor, back to his old form, capable of winning races. And we've seen Caleb get in front of him a couple of times today, and Stu has answered back pretty quickly each time.
All right, guys. Here, I'm going to throw a little monkey wrench. Not in the race, but in the season. Now, we know that Stu Baylor, Caleb Russell love to trash talk each other. This is something, it's been an ongoing thing for a number of years now. If Stu Baylor can grab a win at round 3 on this new machine that a lot of people doubted, you know, how much fire is he going to have for Instagram, Facebook, everything else this week, talking about his new machine, his new team, and how he was able to get down, you know, the gold boy.
Head. Yeah, head-to-head like this, too. Yeah, I mean, that was to be some bragging rights.
and vice versa.
Oh,
is that Josh Strang?
Yep.
It is.
Looped it.
Yeah, loop out Larry there, taking over the controls for Josh Strang for just a moment. Strang takes back over and still solidly in that 3rd place spot. But, you know, if it goes the other way and Caleb Russell's able to get the win, the trash talking will go just as deep. He'll be ribbing Stu and say, well, you know, maybe if you were on an orange bike, you could have held on to it. So they definitely like to throw the heat each other's way. And no matter the outcome of this one, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of trash talking going on social media, text, Snapchat, every other which way that they're able to, you know, throw some shade the other's direction.
Well, it was a great question. As I mentioned earlier in the show, that Mikey Waynes threw to Caleb Russell on the podium last week. He said, do you think you can win every race? And I don't think Caleb was doing anything except saying, I want to win every race I'm in. So my goal is to win every race I'm in. That would mean I win all 13 rounds. Now, I don't think there was any shade being thrown there, but you know if you're any of the other riders, you're going to hear it completely differently. You're going to say, oh, he thinks he can do this? So who's motivated today to immediately end that conversation in just the 3rd round of the championship? And I would guarantee if Stu Baylor wins, you will hear some mention of what perfect season. It only took 3 rounds.
Hey, here's an interesting point to ponder for you guys. The XC2 250 Pro class, Craig DeLong, Johnny G, and Mike Wachowski are now running 4th, 5th, and 6th on adjusted time.
Yeah, that battle has just propelled them to a whole nother level right now. Each one of those guys wanting to win with, obviously, Wachowski already having a win, Gerard already having a win. Craig DeLong has led this one basically the whole way. We did see Gerard was in the lead last lap before he stopped for goggles, which he has already lost again. So, you know, there's a lot. Oh, here we see Grant Baylor now, the 2nd place Sherco and 4th place machine on the track as they run currently. And is he? So you're saying he is actually 7th place?
He is
overall.
7th place overall now. As we look at adjusted time, he is running only 1 second behind. Well, wait a minute. That was Yeah, only 1 second behind Witkowski, so there's only a second difference in the adjusted time right now. So.
And as close as those three are, that's basically 1 second between all three of them. So, you know, he's within a few seconds either way of being on, or not being on the podium, but being in that 4th place spot. Here we see this is your leader on screen, Stu Baylor. We do not see, there is Caleb Russell. So just 1 turn behind. We see Stu Baylor making his way past some lappers. So that gap has opened up just a little bit. It kind of seems to be a little bit yo-yo-ish right now. It's a couple seconds, it's wheel to wheel, it's back to a couple seconds. There's the battle for XC2 on the left screen, split screen we see there. Craig DeLong leading the way, Johnny Gerard in second, hot on his heels. Still no goggles for Craig DeLong. He elected not to stop. It almost looks like Johnny Gerard may have, yes, I see a goggle strap there. So he did stop and get goggles. Witkowski also having or does Gerard have goggles? It's kind of hard to tell from that angle.
Either way, he's trying to make the pass.
Yeah,
I think he did not.
He didn't when they came through scoring. And I guess he probably would have given up more time, so we're going to assume he doesn't. Mike Witkowski lurking back there in third. And, I mean, that one's basically still wheel to wheel. I mean, you couldn't slip a piece of paper between the three of those guys for the last 3 laps.
Johnny, you've certainly dealt with rain in GNCC before. I've always said that you can kind of duck mud, you can kind of duck roost, you can kind of be strategic about that. But when there's a rain like we had for about a half hour, what can you do?
There's really nothing you can do. I mean, the only thing you can do is when you're out in the open stuff and you're at a high rate of speed, you can duck your visor and it'll deflect some of the rain from your goggles. But, you know, we run, obviously in conditions like this, on ATVs we run roll-offs all the time, the film system. Here we see our 3rd place rider, Josh Strang, the 114 Abbott's Monster Energy Kawasaki. And again, tear-offs there. And he also has a tear-off jersey today, it appears. That right sleeve has been flapping in the wind for quite some time. And that's common with these guys. You know, they try to get every little second or half a second that they can, and they're leaning it in close to the trees, and they end up catching a jersey there and their shoulder a lot of times. But, yeah, I mean, it's difficult when it's raining, and it's almost better if it's raining really hard, because then there's really nothing to consider. You just go until you can get goggles. But when it's kind of drizzling, you're trying to do everything you can in hopes that it's going to stop and that you can make those goggles last. So you kind of ride differently. You tilt your head. You drop your visor. In some cases, if the track is conducive to it, you'll actually take your hand and kind of put it in front of you to try and deflect some of the rain. Anything you can do to try and keep the rain off the goggles, because what's hard to explain is, as good as the roll-off systems are and the film systems, you know, they're not meant for driving rain when you're doing 75 miles an hour across a field. You know, as good as they are, they all have their limitations.
Well, you think about the windshield wipers in your car or truck, it'd be wiping clean every second. It's not possible to do that even with roll-off. So rain is a completely different factor when it comes to vision in these races. Now, I think the rain has stopped now, right?
Yeah, it has stopped. It appears to be misting just a little bit, but I definitely wouldn't call this rain. There's no drops actually falling, as there was, you mentioned, just a few moments ago. It had been raining for upwards of 30 minutes since that second round of pit stops, basically, is kind of when it started. And again, going back and kind of playing out this pit strategy, you have to wonder if Stu Baylor's able to hold on to this thing. How much did those roll-offs come into play? And the fact that he pitted after everyone else, allowing him to get that roll-off film system, you know, definitely I feel was a factor. And maybe that two-stop strategy that those guys are on, kind of forced to be on given their fueling situation, but nonetheless, it could have given a completely unforeseen advantage.
Grant Baylor just rolling through.
Yeah,
and here's Ricky Russell. Go ahead, Rodney.
I didn't get an actual clock on it, but it seemed like he was a little bit closer to Josh Strang by about 15 seconds or so. But
Ricky Russell not giving up, though. He's still close there.
Challenging Grant.
In 5th, and you got to wonder, can he make a run back at Grant?
There's something else I got to wonder, and, you know, normally it takes, what, a day or so of recovery, a few hours?
XC2.
XC2 battle.
Yeah, I was just wondering about those back-to-back weeks like this, especially coming through the sands of Florida. Is there anybody that might still be feeling some of the effects from last week's race?
Everyone.
Seriously.
Absolutely. For sure, these guys believe in their heads they're at 100%, and, you know, I think yesterday we obviously all felt the same way, but there's no question. I mean, any doctor, any exercise, professional nutritionist, trainer will tell you that With the effort level that these guys put out for 3 hours just 7 days ago, there's no chance that they are 100% recovered. You know, they were well on their way. I mean, I would say 90%, maybe 95%, but you cannot recover that quickly from an effort like that, especially given, you know, the severity of Florida. If it was any other race, possibly, but to some degree, even if it's nothing more than, you know, the skin on your hands doesn't heal quite as quickly as some other things. I noticed towards the end of the race, I didn't get any blisters, but absolutely I could feel the tenderness in my hands. Normally, I never would have felt that here. The reason was it was kind of an after effect from Florida.
Well, there goes the 127 there of Jordan Ashburn now. He is 9th place in the overall. Again, Stu Baylor continues to lead. Caleb Russell, Josh Strang in 3rd. And, of course, Grant Baylor trying to track him down from back and 4th place. Will he be able to bridge the gap? Stick around to find out. GNCC Live continues after this.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. The all-new from the ground up 2019 Yamaha YZ250F is available at LoJack Cycle Sales, alongside the all-new YZ65 and YZ85, and refined YZ450F. So stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
This week in Yamaha history. The General GNCC at Aonia Pass in Washington, Georgia has been the home of many legendary battles. The 2006 General was no different. It was a day of relentless battles over demanding terrain and conditions that put each rider to the test. Dwayne Johnson, Chris Bithell, William Yoakley, Taylor Kaiser, Brian Cook, and Adam McGill were riders that on any given day could contest for and even take a win. But on this day, it was Pennsylvania's Chris Borch, West Virginia's Chris Jinks, and Kentucky's Bill Balance that waged a war up front that many was hoping to see. Chris Jinks had jumped out to the early lead as the Yamaha mounted Bill Balance with Chris Bithell, Chris Borch, and William Yoakley breaking away from the rest of the pack. Then just past the halfway point, Balance, who had moved up from 4th place at the end of lap 1, made the pass on Chris Jinks for the lead. As Balance set out for his 3rd consecutive win of the General, the battle for second waged between Jinks and Borch. Never more than 10 seconds ahead of the fierceness over his shoulder, the then 6-time ATV champion was able to hang on till the checkers, finishing only 7 seconds ahead of Chris Borch and only 9 seconds ahead of 3rd place rider Chris Jinks. Yamaha's Bill Balance would then go on to win the 7th of his 9 championships that season, posting 6 wins in 2006 to his total tally of 67 overall wins. And that's this week in Yamaha history.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. It's Rodney Tomlin along with Tyler Shepardson, also Jason Wygant, Johnny Gallagher, and Megawatt Matt Watson. We got the best of the best here in the booth today, but one of the best is getting ready to go out and ride Sweet Lap. Jason Wygant, we appreciate the time you spend in the
Yeah,
booth
but
today.
first I got a bench race. This is right in the wheelhouse. This day in this race in Yamaha history. That is glory days. So give us a little now and then, Johnny Gallagher. That was a race you were in.
Yeah.
And you had, as we watch the leaders coming through, here comes
Stu Baylor. Look at him
Stu
charging
Baylor.
in, wheeling in that ditch. He still has that gap, and looks like he has stretched it out over Caleb Russell. That did not necessarily see that coming. We'll see exactly how much. Still no Caleb Russell. I believe that was him in the background there. I think he's coming down to this corner now. There he is. So still within striking distance. But, man, yeah, Rodney just counted it out. 8 seconds. That is 8 seconds at this point at the 7-mile marker. That's essentially an eternity.
Yeah, it's not over, but it's not what we expected, where it was going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. Stu has answered every single challenge. Yeah, so real quick, you were noticing with our old clips how much the pace has picked up since 2004.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing I noticed. I had a post prepared last night for Instagram, but I didn't want it to be perceived as a negative because that's surely not how I meant it. But I was having a conversation after the race yesterday, and I was telling someone that, you know, I know how hard I rode yesterday. I know how fast I was going, and I finished 11th overall. And there's zero doubt in my mind that the pace that I rode yesterday for 2 hours would have won this race here in 2015 and every year before that from the beginning of time. And here we are 5 years later, and that same pace was good for 11:08. And watching those videos, and here we see on screen, is that has it closed up that much
that's
in
Caleb
that amount of
there,
time?
right?
That's Caleb. But is that Stu, or no, that's a lap driver
Okay.
in front of him. Okay, thought we were getting ready to see a battle for the lead wheel to wheel. Stu Baylor is actually around 2 turns
There he
ahead of Caleb Russell. You can see now they're actually running out on the dry soil on the outer edges, trying to get away from that polished, slick Georgia red clay. And as we watch the just absolute intensity that these guys are charging with, you know, we could see on that, you know, Yamaha rewind that we had there, you know, the intensity has just ratcheted up so much on both bikes and ATVs in the last, you know, it's always gone up over time, but the amount that it's gone up in the last 5 or 6 years is just pure insanity.
Yeah.
You know, again, this is not at all a negative thing, but looking at the pace that Chris Jenks, Chris Borch, and Bill Balance were running in 2006, granted that was 14 years ago.
So what you're saying is that Chris Borch, Chris Borch, and Walker Fowler, those guys might have been about a half a lap ahead of everybody. Basically, did
Absolutely, and I've said that before, and I think people, you know, think that I'm trying to say that to in some way defame riders. Man,
No.
those guys were crushing me back then.
That was as fast
they
as you
were
could go back then.
They were the fastest humans on 4 wheels on the planet at the time in 2006. Right now, that pace that they were running to win that race would not put them in the top 30 overall.
Wow.
I mean, there's no question in my mind they would have no chance. They wouldn't even be considered. They would probably be asked to leave the XC1 class. That's no joke. At the pace that they're riding, you can see it there. But at the time, you know, everything just continues to go up. It's like you look at athletics across the board. You know, the bar just keeps getting raised. People go faster and faster and faster. And if you want to keep up, and right now, speaking of raising the bar, Stu Baylor is raising the bar again on the greatest, you know, rider that we've seen in modern times in GNCC, Caleb Russell. 61 wins?
Yes, I
and
believe.
Stu Baylor's working on
62 wins, yes.
62 wins, and Stu Baylor's working on win number 3?
I think it's 3, yeah. Yep. 2 early season wins in his career, and now looking to make it 3. I'm going to hop on. I'm going to go sweep this track with Jared Bolton. I had 2 goals this weekend. I was like, I want to come and hang out, watch GNCC racing, but I want to ride as well. So what better way to do it? And now I got through the first lap. We did not get in the way. We got to the finish line before they got through, and then they're going to take the checkered flag. So I will not affect the overall for this race in any way, shape, or form. I will not get in the way, and that was actually the real goal.
Well,
yeah.
Weege, obviously, thanks for coming in. And for those of you watching at home, I know there probably hasn't been a camera shot of Weege, but those of you that are Pulp MX fans, I'd like to point out Weege does have his jersey on the right direction.
Forward.
So he's got it on forward. He does not have it on backwards.
It's actually 2 lessons learned. Somebody said, your chest protector is under chest protector. And I'm like, oh. And I put the jersey on over today. I'm like, it fits. How about that? So thank you to all my friends for telling me how to do things correctly. It just takes me 2 or 3 extra times to get it right.
All right, back to the action. You guys enjoy the finish. I'll see you down by the podium.
Craig DeLong still leading the way in XC2. Johnny Gerard hot on his heels. Neither of those riders with goggles. Gerard barely holding on to that one. And there is Mike Witkowski still in that third place spot. These guys, man, I just don't know that this could get any closer.
Now, let me ask you something. If Craig DeLong wins this, I got to go back and look at these results. Are we looking at the possibility of a three-way tie for the XC2 250 Pro Points League? Could we have three white background number plates next race?
There's the potential.
No, it wouldn't work out that way because and he is Witkowski having the points lead now with a first and a second, even if he would get a third today, with DeLong having a 1 and a 3, or I'm sorry, having a 3 and a 3, does he not? Yeah, he has a 3 and a 3 and a 1.
Okay, I was thinking
there would not be a tie, but it would certainly tighten up the points, that's for sure.
Yeah, so right now we're sharing the white plate, so one of them two has to get more points than the other today, but we could be looking at another two points, or a tie, two-way tie for the points lead going into the next round.
Awesome.
But, yeah, I got a chance to speak with Craig and do a quick interview with him last weekend, and I asked him if there was any more pressure switching over to that Rockstar Energy Husky team as someone goes sliding around that corner right there.
Stu Baylor still charging. He's working his way towards the VP Fuels Pro Row for the last time.
By the way, we are about 6.5 minutes out from checker.
Yeah, so Craig, I asked him if switching over to that factory Rockstar Husqvarna team, if there was any added pressure, and he told me that coming into the season, he was already...
boys, this is tightened right back up. Caleb Russell flat tracking away around this corner, and he's now made his way basically back to the rear wheel of Stu Baylor.
And
so
right
what had stretched out to a 7 or an 8 second lead is now down to maybe 7 or 8 bike lengths.
And our graphic covered it up, but I'm pretty sure Caleb still went 3 right there over that triple. So Stu doubles and Caleb triples and reels in a little bit more time as he looks to get Stu Baylor in his sights even closer.
Well, I tell you,
this is intense.
It is. And look at that. You can see the ground being made up by Caleb Russell as they head into this wood section. And here's where it starts to get fancy. And this is where I love this Yamaha Racing Skycam here, because we're going to get to see the biggest, probably the rest of this battle right down to the checkers. Folks, sit back, grab yourself a Pepsi, whatever it is you're drinking for the next 5.5 minutes. We're ready to watch this battle unfold.
Yeah, Stu Baylor still leading the way. Caleb Russell just behind him, just off the bottom of our screen. And they are so close that one mistake, and this is the section where we saw things really get heated up last lap, where Stu Baylor stuffed it into the rut. Caleb Russell was in the same rut. Here they go. They're separate lines, and we're going to see how this plays out. Stu Baylor still able to get through. There was the rut right there.
Yeah.
That was the section where Stu Baylor got stuck last lap. Caleb Russell also getting stuck. Both riders navigate through there. No issues this lap.
Boy, Caleb chose a very crafty line through there. It didn't look like it really boded well for him, but, you know, he's trying to pull out something there, it looks like.
I think that was a cautious line. I think he knew that was the section. He wanted to make sure he went the safe out and around line, even if he gave up a couple of bike lengths, and it looks like it paid off because he's still plenty close here. And, you know, it's kind of we talked about it before, it's a little bit like an inchworm. It kind of seems to stretch out, close up, stretch out, close up. That's a wooden bridge there, so that's super sketchy.
Whoa.
Those guys got to keep it upright as it's raining, and they both do. They both come through there. Now, this is approaching the 10-mile marker. As they go down this straightaway, the 10-mile marker is right down here, so they are wheel-to-wheel with less than a mile left of racing, Rodney. And, man, fans here at the Georgia GNCC, if you're at Aonia Pass, make your way to the finish line, because you're going to see an epic battle right down to the finish between Sherco's Stu Baylor and KTM's Caleb Russell as they settle the score here today at the General GNCC in Washington, Georgia.
Yeah, just like you said, an accordion or inchworm situation going on here. It tightens up, it stretches back out, it tightens back up, and I've just watched that over the course of the last 15 seconds, and there you go, good line choices, and a great line choice there by Caleb Russell. That closed up a second and a half or so, it looked like.
Yeah, it looks like they've got a couple different lines, and we saw this before. They go their separate ways, they come back together, and, you know, Stu's going wide in some of these sections, Caleb's going wide in some of these sections, but ultimately, they are just all over each other, battling for every inch, and that's really what matters at this point, Rodney. This isn't a matter of battle of time anymore. This is a battle of inches.
It is a race of inches at this particular point, Johnny Gallagher, as we are now looking at less than 4 minutes. We're about 3 minutes and 20 seconds before we should expect to see these riders in at the finish line. And a checker flag flying for either Stu Baylor, taking this Sherco machine in its 3rd race only in a 3-hour GNCC. Basically a stock machine, bone stock bike, to the center of the box, or possibly a 2nd place if Caleb Russell can find some way around. At this point, I think it's a matter of any mistakes that will be made. They will be compounded quite a bit by either rider at this juncture here in the closing moments.
And the riders we're seeing there on screen are not Stu Baylor and Caleb Russell, because that's actually the section leading right to the moto track in the finish. They're not quite there yet. They went the other way on the side of the other side of the creek. So as you mentioned, Rodney, you said about 2.5 minutes. I think they're going to be a little ahead of schedule just based on how hard they're charging, but that is not our leaders. So let's not get too excited just yet. We're going to wait. We're going to watch, and we're going to follow the action right to the finish line. That will be where they are coming out. That will be, but at that point, they basically come out. They have a long arcing left, a very, very fast straightaway that's hard pack and slick right now, a big sweeping right-hander, a left-hander with the ruts, 2 big tabletops, and then that silty right-hander where we saw Stu Baylor go down just a lap ago and essentially almost hand the lead back to Caleb Russell, and then those 2 quick chicanes and into the finish. So what we're looking at here is a matter of seconds from the finish line, but that doesn't mean that the racing action's over. Whoever's leading here, that isn't the end of it. If they're close enough, still not our leaders just yet.
We are less than 2 minutes away from checker flag and waiting patiently here as these riders are set to enter the moto track. Stu Baylor and Caleb Russell, as we are on the verge of a historical event here in the soils of Georgia, round number 3 of the 2020 GNCC season. Will Stu Baylor be able to keep this one at the helm all the way to the checkers, or will Caleb Russell pull the rabbit out of the hat and make the pass? It has been a battle, a heated battle, wheel to wheel, pretty much from the drop of the green flag on this one. Baylor getting a start just outside the top 5, but by race in, lap number 1 in, he was already in the lead position, and he has been the man to beat all day long.
Yeah, I tell you what, the big shocker for me, Rodney, was when Caleb Russell got the lead there, when Stu Baylor pitted with 2 to go. I really thought that was going to be the point at which Caleb was going to be able to break away and make his move to grab the win. And next thing we knew, just a few miles later, Stu Baylor was back in the lead. So that was a very pivotal moment in this race, regardless of how the outcome. Stu Baylor able to bridge that gap of just a couple seconds to get back to Caleb. And look at this. I think this might be our leaders. And it is. They're basically side by side coming out onto the Aonia Pass Motocross facility. Rodney, take it from here.
And Stu Baylor with a slight advantage, but here comes Caleb Russell trying to drive up on the outside now. Stu Baylor on the inside, high and wide. Here comes Caleb Russell trying to get the momentum. He shut the door on him. Now Baylor goes wide, and to the inside goes Caleb Russell. Russell takes the pass. Leaving the door open was the Sherco ride of Stu Baylor. He basically gave this one away to Caleb Russell today as we are into our final turns now. Caleb Russell off the track, heading toward the checker flag, and what a monumental day here as Caleb Russell does it, pulls that rabbit out of the hat.
The head
here
shake.
on the last lap, last turns, Caleb Russell wins the Specialized General GNCC.
Rodney, I have to tell you, a lap ago I watched these guys come through, and I watched Stu Baylor take that outside line, and I thought, why is he going all the way out there? It was such a questionable line, but I think it was just a safe line, as slick as it was. He went out, took that safe line. Caleb Russell stuffs it in on the inside, no contact made, just takes the line away, takes the inside, and gets there first. But still, a phenomenal ride for Stu Baylor and the Sherco machine.
Yeah.
These guys are contenders, Rodney.
Yeah.
This is the real deal. They can win
deal.
GNCC races.
They can. This is the real deal. And Stu Baylor said, and this is a funny thing, he said, I won't be able to win on this bike. This is what he told me. He said, I might not be able to win on this bike, but I'll build a championship winning bike. I think he's already capable of winning a championship on this bike if things go his way in the future.
Rodney, that was one of the wildest finishes I've ever seen in GNCC history. That came right down to the wire.
And the only reason I hate to say it, but the only reason Stu isn't in the center of that box is he just basically gave it away there with just a couple turns left to go. Here's the replay on that as they come in. Caleb goes out wide. Now, I have to think that maybe Stu might have been expecting him to go out wide here, but
I'll tell you what happened there, Rodney. Caleb ran it up the inside. Stu missed his mark. Stu was trying to stay on the throttle to beat Caleb to that corner. He was trying to get to that inside. As slick as it is with the rain on that red Georgia clay, Caleb, once realizing he couldn't make that inside pass, he checked up even more to get to that very inside line, and Stu just overcooked the corner.
How much incentive, though, is this for Stu Baylor right now?
Hats off to this guy, folks. Regardless, maybe not a win today, but a second-place spot and a phenomenal ride. Absolute everything left out there on the track today.
It don't say win in the win column. It don't say that, but I can tell you right now, this is a huge win for Factory One Sherco.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely. And get that man some ice cream.
Get him 2 scoops of ice cream.
2 scoops of whatever. Give him some fudge, some marshmallows, cheesecake topping, whatever he wants. That man has earned it. Hats off to both those guys. And we can't forget about Josh Strang. Again, looking to be on the podium. Should be coming in here any moment. Phenomenal ride for him. Hey, Josh Strang's out there having fun. What happens when Josh Strang has fun, Rodney?
He starts doing well. And he could be a contender coming up soon if he keeps having fun like this.
Absolutely. And then don't forget, folks, if you're still here, you're still watching, we've still got a barn burner coming in that XC2 class. So that wasn't the last of it. We had 2 riders battling down to the finish line in XC1. Well, XC2 says, oh, no, we're going to outdo that. Here is Strang, the 114 machine, coming across the line, giving that Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki Team Green another podium. That is 3 podiums in a row for Josh Strang. And I'll tell you right now, Rodney, we might have to get our history books out here, or at least our record books. When's the last time Josh Strang had 3 podiums in a row?
It's been a few years.
It's been a minute, and this man is back on fire, and he looks real good. And Maverick is not impressed with Josh's podium. he is pretty upset.
You won, Dad.
He's crying about it, but and well, this is actually Grant Baylor on screen. So this is our 4th place rider, and we'll wait and we'll watch and see if he is able to pull away from that XC2 battle that has propelled itself up to, we know that's kind of the 4th place overall spot in limbo between those top 3 riders in XC2 and Grant Baylor. So he's got to have a minute on these next 3 riders coming in, which when we last saw, Craig DeLong leading the way, Johnny Gerard in 2nd, Mike Witkowski in 3rd. But just like we saw Caleb Russell and Stu Baylor come out of the woods here, we're going to see those 3 guys here in a matter of probably around a minute or less.
Yep, so we wait patiently here for this, and we say, wow, congratulations to Caleb Russell and to Stu Baylor and to Josh Strang. Phenomenal ride here. It was a record-breaking ride for Stu Baylor on the machine.
That is Ricky Russell there in 5th place, and there is Craig DeLong hot on his heels, the 342 Rockstar Energy Husqvarna. He is on his way to his first win of 2020 aboard that new team. He made the switch before the last round from the Coastal Husqvarna team, where he was teammates with the man in front of him, Ricky Russell, who is an XC1 rider, different class. But this is the first win, meaning we're going to have 3 different winners in the XC2 class in 3 rounds. Craig DeLong strikes here today at the Georgia General GNCC, his first XC2 win of 2020.
And going back on to what you said earlier today, Johnny, do you think that we're going to see a 3-way shootout for the championship? Yes.
I'll tell you what, Craig DeLong just threw his name in the hat in a big way. You could tell he was very, very disappointed and disgruntled on the podium at Big Buck. He was once again disappointed a week ago in Florida. This week, he is a happy, happy man.
Well, I'll tell you, what a day here in Georgia. One that I'm sure no one could have ever guessed was going to happen here today. Never could have written this story. This one wrote itself. There's no doubt about it. Caleb Russell taking the win just barely over Stu Baylor. Josh Strang in 3rd. Craig DeLong will take 4th place overall, taking the win in the XC2 250 Pro class. Johnny Gerard will take 5th place overall, 2nd place in the XC2 250 Pro class. And I believe that would put Mike Witkowski in 3rd in the class. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with our celebrations when we return here at the General on GNCC Live. Welcome back to GNCC Live. Rodney Tomlin along with Johnny Gallagher, Megawatt Matt Watson, and a special thanks today to Tyler Shepardson from On the Pipe as well. And sounds like we're getting things ready down in the winner's circle. Again, Caleb Russell taking a squeaker of a win here at
Stu,
the
here we are, man,
Washington,
right
at the
after
General.
the
Let's
end
head on down to
of
Megawatt
the
Matt
General
Watson.
GNCC. You told me you just threw it away right here at the end. We had Battle of the Ages. Tell everybody how it happened.
You know, I got off to another terrible start. We just can't get the thing figured out on starts. But you know, it was a struggle there the first little bit. But you know, luckily Caleb had a few mistakes, a few crashes that first lap, and I knew that he was right there. So I wanted to push and get to the lead and kind of control the race. And you know, I got up there and got up front and kind of made a break for it, because we don't have a quick fill. So I know it was a screw cap pit, and that was a lot of time. You know, that's the time we needed to win. But you know, I had to make my pushes early, which kind of sucks. You know, in a GNCC, there's a lot of pacing that goes on, and you know, once after I pitted the second time, Caleb and I hooked up. We kind of cruised for a little bit, and he made that mistake, and I knew when he made the mistake, it was time to go. And you know, I gave it everything I had. It just a few mistakes from a win and a little bit of unorganization, but you know, all in all, I can't be upset with a second place normally, but this one was on me. You know, three turns from the finish, we went a little wide and left the door wide open, and he was able to take it. And you know, it should have been my day, it should have been my race, but you know, it was the deck stacked against us. So to do what we're doing, you know, I'm happy with it, but we've got a lot to improve on.
You absolutely have some room to improve, but I got to tell you, leaps and bounds over the last couple weeks, and you got to be pleased. Yeah, you're disappointed you left that door open, but where you guys are from where you were a couple weeks ago, it's about to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I know I can run with these guys. I knew it at round one. I caught Caleb at round two. I knew I could. You know, that's my race. And you know, typically this is not one of my favorite tracks. It just really, you know, with the wet winter we've had down south, it really suited my style. The ruts were deep, and you know, that's all I've been riding all year long. So you know, it was solid, and you know, but it was a struggle. You know, we ran out of. I busted my camel back on the second lap, so the struggle all day. But we're gonna come back for round whenever. I don't actually know what the next round is, but you know, whenever we get this stuff figured out, whenever people pull their heads out of their butt and we realize that it's time to go racing. So no, I'm looking forward to the next one, whenever it may be.
10-4. Congratulations on a hard-fought ride, and we'll see you on the podium. Stu Baylor, second place.
Well, what a ride there for Stu Baylor. Not a bit disappointed with that second place position, and good thing. I mean, obviously disappointed in the fact that he gave it away, but knowing that what he achieved here today was certainly a huge and monumental feat. And another huge and monumental feat, another win 63 if we're counting them down right now for Caleb Russell. And what an amazing finish for him. He was there, didn't get the best of starts, but he kept his name in the battle all day long. Had the lead for just a little while. Let's head on down to Megawatt Matt Watson.
We're here with third place overall today, Josh Trang. Josh, big strides for you. The Babbitt Kawasaki team come out of here at third place today on the gas. Great start, making leaps and bounds improvements. So it's about to happen anytime, right?
I don't know. We'll see. Just like I've been saying, man, just racing my own race, and I really enjoyed it today. So I think 2 laps to go, I center punched a tree, and that's when I lost sight of those guys. And I think I may have been able to keep up a little bit more, but you never know. So I lost sight of them, and then it started raining a bit, so I got slippery, and I was just happy to ride around and stay safe. I'll be sore tomorrow, I know that, but man, I had a blast today. The track was good, and I got off to a good start and ran with those guys. Man, it's crazy. There's people making lines that just off the main track that don't work, and they're front runners, and it sucks because they're taking these lines, they don't work. So I mean, it's just funny. They spend all this time walking the track and doing that. It just frustrates me. And I know Stu said something about it, and I mean, it's just silly. We just race the track, and there's always going to be cut lines that get made during the race, and I feel like that's fine. But man, there's lines getting taken on the first lap that are just too far out of the way. But besides that, I had a good race, and I was happy to run with Stu and Caleb there, and I felt a couple of times they gapped me, and I kind of started to catch back up. So I feel like I got some pretty good speed. When they get together at the end of the race, they just put the hammer down. So, and then if I'm not with them, there's not much point trying to catch up to someone already going that much faster. So overall, it was a good day.
Absolutely. Incredible strategy you're talking about right there. Speed's not the issue with you by no means. You have the speed to run with them. The equipment looks like it's running 100%. You've got great backing. The bike looks really good. So putting yourself in good position at the right time during the race and being able to battle with them at the end of the race is going to be the key.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that is the goal. The goal is to get podiums and get wins. But we'll start with podiums. There's Caleb's a 7-time champ for a reason, and he is a good rider, and if I can get to where I can race it for an hour and a half, 2 hours with him, then that's when you just start building and trying to be there at the end. So we'll start with my own race and getting up on the podium. The Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki has been good, and man, it's a good bike. So overall, man, I'm stoked.
You had a lot of people pulling for you and cheering for you today, so congratulations on a great ride, man. Gutty effort.
Yeah, thank you.
Third place today, Josh Strang.
All right, thanks a lot, Megawatt. And here's an interesting point to ponder, Tyler Shepardson. I don't think that Josh Strang realizes just exactly what level he's reaching right now. He's just having fun riding his motorcycle, and that's great to hear. But the more fun he has, the better he's doing right now. So if he keeps having fun,
a former champion in Josh Strang. I mean, yeah, just like you said, I mean, he's really riding at a high level. He's been at the podium every single round so far in 2020, putting that Kawasaki up on the box with a 3, 2, and now another 3 on a brutal track, as we can tell, looking at our XC2 second-place finisher there, Johnny Girard.
And amazingly, I mean, he kept pace with those guys with up until a lap and a half or so left to go. I mean, he was right there within just a few seconds, had those guys in sight. Like he said, he center punched a tree, took himself out of it basically. And when you look at it, I mean, 2 minutes and 38 seconds, that's what it was. But at the end of the fifth lap, the gap wasn't nearly that much, and basically he just went into reserve mode and just rode the track, rode it out to a third-place position is what he did.
Meanwhile, a full minute ahead of fourth place in XC1.
Yeah, and that's Craig DeLong, who was your
Grant Baylor
in the XC1 class, but in the overall, Craig DeLong finishing as we take a look at that, about 30 or so seconds behind Josh Strang on adjusted time. So those guys had a really fast pace going. Let's head on down to the winner's circle with Megawatt with Craig DeLong.
Welcome back to Racer TV. We're here with our XC2 winner, Craig DeLong. Craig, man, tell us a little bit about today's race. It looked like a battle of all battles today. You guys swapped some positions. Everybody had different lines, had some lappers, had a little rain come in, had a little everything.
Yeah, it was brutal for sure. Definitely wasn't easy. Mike, Johnny, and I, we were together all race, and then man, it was all the way to the end. It was tough. I'm wore out.
Where were you able to find your time at, Craig? You sat back a little bit. You were able to see some of their lines and stuff. Where were you confident that you were faster?
I mean, I think just it was kind of who was lucky the most. The lappers played a big key in it. Like I got away a couple different times, and I got. And all that stuff. So. It was just about being smooth and, picking different lines than what everybody else was doing. So I had a lot of fun. The track was tough. I mean, it's always tough, but a win makes it a little bit easier.
You bet, and it gives you a lot of confidence going into our next race. Where that may be, we're not sure, but it allows you to carry the momentum and have a lot of confidence.
Yeah, for sure, and I'm happy to do it for the new team, the Rockstar Husky team, and, they had no pressure, but, there is a little bit of pressure, and I'm glad I was able to come through and deliver for them. And, Fly Racing and X-Brand goggles, CD boots, Pro Taper, Cycra Dunlop tires, FMF, Carry Resources, Coastal Drilling, everybody else. Thank you.
Congratulations on a gritty win. Craig DeLong, your XC2 Pro winner today.
All righty, so congratulations to Craig DeLong on a spectacular ride here today, heating that championship up as far as the XC2 250 Pro class is concerned. And not real sure, that looks like one of our XC2 riders that might be a little spent there on the side of the track there. And of course, with that, here are our unofficial results. Caleb Russell taking the win, Stu Baylor in second, Josh Strang in third, Craig DeLong takes fourth, Johnny Gerard takes fifth. That would have been second in the XC2 class. Grant Baylor takes sixth. He was fourth in the XC1 class. Mike Witkowski third in the XC2 class, is seventh overall. Then Grant Baylor finished twice there somehow or another. Jordan Ashburn and Cody Barnes. Actually, let's see, as we look at that, it's
I think that's Ricky Russell.
Yeah, Ricky
here.
Russell, and then Jordan Ashburn and Cody Barnes rounding out the top 10 there. So that is the way things wrap up here at the Specialized General GNCC. That's going to wrap it up as far as this race weekend is concerned, and just certainly want to say thanks to everybody for tuning in and watching here on GNCC Live. And on behalf of the entire broadcast team today, special guest Jason Wygant, also from On the Pipe Tyler Shepardson, Megawatt Matt Watson filling in for Mikey Waynes, Johnny Gallagher, and myself, Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day, everybody.